Must
know
not
what
read
I'm
from
doing.
just scary Egypt books, you know?
Scary Egypt books are the things to avoid.
I mean,
that
honestly,
is for sure.
why read them out loud? Just don't read anything out loud. Just
I don't understand these tropes of when people find something in movies or TV and they read it out loud like that. That is not the first thing you would do, right?
Well, I guess because you're like trying to translate it in your head, so you like, okay, I'm gonna read what it actually says in its actual language out loud and then translate it. But at the same time, it is such a trope now. You should know not to read things out loud.
The other problem is, in both instances, in this movie, before they do the thing that causes the mayhem, they go, there's a curse on this thing.
Yes.
And then they still go and do it.
You know, this one's supposed to have a curse. Oh, this one says curse. Oh, look, there's a curse over here.
I don't care what it is.
Oh, the wind just went kind of nuts. Let's continue. Like,
if
why? You're inside of a crypt, and all of a sudden wind just whooshes around you. Something scary is about to happen.
If you have, like, a daughter, and she has a diary, and on the front of the diary she put, "This book carries a terrible curse for those who read it." She might have put a curse on it.
She probably put a curse on it. I would be very careful with that. She might be practicing some crazy stuff.
Yeah, you don't know. That might be time to actually really... Yeah, you're doing Yogurt Man.
Yes.
This book has a terrible curse.
Also cursed.
But it comes with a free yogurt.
Which is good.
The yogurt is also cursed.
Which is bad.
The yogurt contains potassium benzoate. That's bad.
It's a good bit. I like that.
That is a good bit. I do love that bit. Speaking of bits, I am Kevin.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is Shelf Life, a podcast where a brother and sister team always know not to read books out loud that
just writings in
potentially
general
contain curses.
That's right. Anything. You start reading stuff out loud, and you saw the word curse, you're like, hold up, let me stop myself.
You know when the only appropriate time to read something out loud is if you're in the car and you're both, or like whoever is in the car is trying to figure out which like turn to make. That's the only appropriate time, when to be seeing something visually, and before you interpret it with your brain, you go, turn right here, and you turn right, because that's what the sign says. And if it says turn right here, beware, there is a curse for those that turn right here, you have to say all of it.
You say all of it. And then hopefully that person driving goes, oh wait, and does not turn.
And then you have to not turn right. And I kind of want, in some remote area, for someone to do that.
There's supposed to be a lot of haunted roads. I would not be surprised if there would be a place that someone goes, hold up a second, you have to turn right onto this road, but let me tell you, it's haunted, and there's a curse. Let's go around the cursed road.
The best would be if you could get a frozen yogurt stand on the road.
Ooh, now so that would be perfect.
It could say, like, frozen yogurt this way. But the
and then there's a little
road
like,
is cursed
thing next to it that also says cursed yogurt.
Yeah, but then it's free. You get a free yogurt, but the yogurt is also cursed, and it contains potassium benzoate.
That's bad.
That is bad. What are we doing? We are a podcast. We're a brother and sister team. Go through pop culture one at a time to determine whether or not the genre at hand belongs on your shelf, both digital and physical. We go through those subjects in minute detail. We go through the walkthroughs of all of the subjects because we leave no stone unturned. That's here right. At Shelf Life, Rachel.
Damn straight.
We go through everything in its entirety because how else are you to appropriately judge whether or not it has shelf life? You tell me, Rachel. You tell me.
Okay, I will. I will tell you, because that's the point of the podcast.
yeah, and we're not gonna not go over it, because they put it in there. It's up for scrutiny.
There's a point for it to be in there.
according to the creator, apparently
right.
there is some sort of point.
And we have to dissect it and say, was this really necessary?
Yes, exactly. And we're going to waste your time, dear listener, because it's wasting our time. Or are we coming up with gold because we found something in that little minute part that you might not have thought of?
It's both. It's definitely both.
It definitely is both. Rachel, today we kick off a milestone volume. It is an extra large helping of Shelf Life with Volume 5. We begin this journey here in Volume 5. It is going to be a menagerie of big hitters.
Oh, yeah.
This
definitely.
time around.
Absolutely.
Kind of crazy that we're starting it this way. Rachel, what is up for contention to the shelf today?
We are going to be talking about the 1999s. That sounded weird. Hold on.
That's going in a trailer.
We will be discussing 1999's The Mummy.
That is correct. Stephen Sommers' 1999 movie, The Mummy, the Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz starring vehicle, an adventure film of sorts. Well, whatever. That's what they call them. They call them vehicles. Sometimes I don't know. What do you want?
I thought you were going to say The Mummy's actor's name, but
Arnold Vosloo,
Thank
the
you.
titular mummy.
There you go. Because anytime
right.
I ever see him in anything else, he will always be the Mummy.
Yeah,
Always.
he's the mummy. He is Emotep. That's just his lot in life. He
Yes.
is Emotep.
He will forever be Emotep.
You know, I know that there are actors out there that like probably hate that they're associated with
Specific things.
a particular role.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, no, dude, like that's your
It's kind of an
legacy.
honor.
Like that's kind of it should be nice to have something like that's gonna live forever.
Like, you feel like you can't replace that actor or actress in your head with somebody else. You're like, no, you are that person for me.
Yeah.
It's very special.
The year 1999, a big year for movies. We've talked about it a little bit, of these years that just have huge movies that come out. And this was a movie that, in particular, kind of one of those like secret little hits, I think. And it's a remake of the 1932 version
Yes.
of The Mummy.
Yes.
Despite the fact that it's called The Mummy, despite the fact that we're dropping this episode in October, because of the fact that it says The Mummy, so we think that that sweet, sweet algorithm might help.
That's right.
And
Let's
people
go.
might want to listen to things that are spooky. This
No,
is not...
spooky related. Monster related.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a monster in this.
It's the Mummy. The Mummy is the
Yeah.
monster. Yeah.
But Rachel,
This
if
is,
you
this
had
is
to...
not a horror movie.
Okay, I
can
was
tell
about
you
to say,
that.
if you had to describe The Mummy, and of course your history with The Mummy, please to describe The Mummy.
Okay, so genre-wise, I would say action, comedy, thriller. Thriller last. Because I don't know if I find this super spooky. Like, the beginning parts, maybe, but the rest of it more action, comedy. I don't know if I remember watching it for the first time, but rewatching this now, it was just like, I just remembered a lot of stuff from it. I was like, oh yeah, this line, I'm like, I know the lines in certain spots. And then I had this vivid memory going on a road trip in our grandparents' van.
Okay.
And having the Mummy on the screen and either laying on the green carpeted floor of that thing or sitting on the chair. I like vivid memory. Travel movie.
Okay.
So yeah.
So just like Volume 4 started with a travel movie and X-Men were starting.
Oh my
with Volume
god.
5 with a travel movie.
How did we do that the second time?
I don't know if I remember it being a travel movie. I'm sure it was. Like it fits that mold of being a travel movie.
Right.
I would describe it as an adventure. It is an adventure movie.
Oh,
It's like Indiana Jonesesque.
Yes. Very, very much so. I agree.
Very much in tone of that kind of a film. So I don't remember seeing it in theaters. I don't think I did. For some reason, Rachel, I have a memory, and it can't be this movie because I remember what I was watching with Grandma, so I don't remember what the movie Mom and Dad would have gone to see. But Mom and Dad went to go see a movie, and I remember, and I was at Grandma's, and I remember watching the NBA All-Star game with her.
All right.
And I don't remember why you weren't there, but you weren't there. And I know that Mom and Dad went to see a movie, and in my head, I was always like, they went to go see The Mummy. But they couldn't have, because the NBA All-Star Game's in February, and this came out in May. It had to be something else, or maybe it was another time I went over to Grandma's, and they went to see The Mummy, but I don't
it gave you the
think
memory
I
of
saw it
that?
in theaters. Yeah. So I don't know what movie it really was where I was watching the NBA All-Star Game with Grandma.
And I wasn't even there, so I must have been at a sleepover or something.
Yeah, you weren't there. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I could not tell you the first time I saw this. And like you said, I'm sure this was a repeat viewing as kids. So there is going to be a nostalgia factor as we go through this one. We quote a lot from this one. We have our little quotes that we do from this one.
Yes.
From time to time. And really,
we've done it on the podcast. I know we
have done it on the podcast. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we have. I don't even think in like cut moments. I think we've left in moments where we have quoted this. So it is one of those movies that has stuck with us, which is why it has to be one of those things where we go back and we reevaluate it and we say, okay, regardless of it, was it fun when it came out? Was it popular when it came out? How did it do? Does it have shelf life? You know? Yeah. So if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes score or like the ratings at the time, it was very mixed as far as the reception it got. But it was a hit. It made a lot of money. Mm-hmm. It made a lot of money. It has the sequels, which I'm sure we'll do one day. No, we have, to brag on that fucking little kid.
Well, no, I mean, the second one, sure,
but child.
The next one after that, is that necessary? I mean, no, we have to talk about the Scorpion King.
I don't even like The Mummy Returns. I think The Mummy Returns is bad.
I mean, I
especially
wasn't like...
that CGI rock. That CGI
rock is the worst part. Horrible. However, I don't really mind the second one. It's fine.
Well, when we get there, we'll get there.
I like the shenanigans, all right?
I feel like after 25 years now, as of the time of this recording, like this is the anniversary. This played at my local theater. They had, they do these anniversary showings where they like show big movies from like on anniversary days, like 20 years after whatever. They did The Mummy. Like a few screenings of The Mummy, and like it's like sold out and stuff. So it's kind of revered, but is it revered because people have nostalgia for it? Is it revered because people look back at it and go, "No, it's fun. No, it's exciting. It's an adventure," and they don't make them like this anymore, where it's just something that's fun. I don't know. To give the background, they call this a remake of the 1932 The Mummy. It's because it has Imhotep as the Mummy. Mm-hmm. Anaksunyaman, I think, is the pronunciation.
That's the only reason we have to do the second one. I'm just saying.
It's just that is for the Pharaoh's pronunciation of Anaksunamun.
Anaksunyaman.
Okay, I gotta say this because I looked it up because I was like, is Imhotep in the 30s Mummy? Because full disclosure, I have not seen the Boris Karloff Mummy from 1932. I
kind of want to. I want to see that one if it's any good. It's mentioned in some stuff.
No, I'm sure. Well, last year for Halloween we watched Frankenstein of Bride of Frankenstein, and I remember thinking then, this is not a spoiler alert necessarily for its shelf life verdict one day, folks. But I remember we watched it, and we were watching it. We were engaged with it.
It was very
and we
engaging.
Were like, the fact that this 100-year-old movie is engaging means that at the time that it came out, it must have been like, holy shit, this is the greatest movie of all time.
Horribly fascinating.
Like, there's no way that 100 years later we should still be like engaged
captivated
with it.
Right.
So those are the only two of the classic Universal monsters that I've seen. The name of Anaksunamun in the 30s version is Ankh-es-an-Aman. Ankh-es-an-Aman. Ankh-es-an-Aman is how I'm reading it phonetically.
That sounds like it would still be Anaksunamun. What you're saying, I think, is still Anaksunamun.
Yeah, I think so too. But I could see how someone in the original could say Anaksunyaman instead.
Anaksunyaman. I could. I don't really know the proper pronunciation. Do we know the proper Egyptian pronunciation?
No, I just clicked on her name because this is a real person.
Yes.
Anaksunyaman.
I know. Yes.
Was a queen who lived in the 18th dynasty of Egypt, and they have her.
That can't be right.
Egyptian name next to it, but I cannot decipher the Egyptian. Wait, oh, Rachel's using her phone.
Einken, Einsen, Wait. Einkensenamen. What? Is that right? So nobody's correct, is what I'm hearing.
We're gonna go with the Noxinamun.
I'm gonna go with Noxinamun.
So that movie from the 30s, The Mummy, of course, is a classic Universal monster film, and they were going to always. That is supposed to be a horror movie.
Correct.
They wanted to try to remake it because, of course, they did, and they started trying to remake it in the 80s. So in the late 80s, producers named James Jacks and Sean Daniel tried to update it to get it to go. Universal said okay, because they have the rights to all the Universal monsters. So Universal gave the go-ahead, but they wanted to make it a low-budget horror movie. They gave them like $10 million. They said, this is what the budget should be. This is a horror movie. It's the 80s. Go for it. George A. Romero was going to direct it at one point. They were going to make it so that it was set in the 80s, and it was like a contemporary, like Terminator-esque mummy. Like he was just going to walk like a Terminator.
Yeah.
And then Clive Barker got involved instead of George A. Romero, so now it was going to the Hellraiser guy instead of the zombie guy. Clive Barker had Mick Garris, who's another horror guy, write a script for it. And then Barker put in, because he's Clive Barker, he's a sex weirdo, he put in weird sexual overtones and stuff into it. It was very horror-esque. Okay. It was like body horror, which makes sense. It's the Mummy.
Oh, sure, yes.
That didn't turn out. The studio did not really want to get... They thought it...
Too dark?
According to some of the stuff I looked up, they said that it was too perverted and too dark.
Perverted? Yeah. All right.
Well, Clive Barker, when you watch Hellraiser, Rachel, because I know you've not seen it, but when we get to that on the list, you'll know what they mean.
All right. I'm scared.
Joe Dante was scheduled to direct it at some point. He wanted Daniel Day-Lewis to be the Mummy, which would have been very interesting. That would have been a very Boris Karloff style Mummy, I have a feeling. And then it just kind of like died again. They did have certain things in a lot of these scripts that became part of the final. But I guess this George A. Romero script had something where it was like Imhotep was discovered and they did an MRI on him, and the MRI brought him back to life for some reason. Just a lot of weird stuff.
Interesting.
In it. They put it back into the 30s and 40s then in like the next treatment. It was in development hell, as they say, where it's like they just can't figure out how to do it. You know, we saw the same thing with X-Men. We saw the same thing with like some other things that we've covered on the podcast, where it's just they have an idea, they want to get it done, but there's so much they want to get it right and they want to make money off of it that they have too many ideas, and then like little pieces get like sprinkled out throughout the way.
Oh sure, yeah.
Stephen Sommers, who directed this movie, realized that they were trying to make a Mummy movie, and he had a completely different idea for it. And I watched the behind the scenes stuff that I will the full disclosure of this is if I didn't say this already when the recording started, I own this on 4K. So I have that access, and then I have access to the Blu-ray with the 4K, and the Blu-ray has some like behind the scenes stuff on it.
Sure. And
he was saying on the Blu-ray behind the scenes stuff that he thinks that most people remember the first 10 to 15 minutes of The Mummy. They find the mummy, he's a mummy, he comes to life, it's very creepy, it's very horror movie-esque. The rest of the movie, he's walking around as Ardeth Bay, he's pretending to be a person, he's like pretending to not be a mummy. That's where he thought like it was a horror movie, but instead of just
a little bit more,
yeah,
it's just a person. So he was like, now. There's like the scare factor is gone,
right? So he was saying instead of making it a horror movie, he always remembered it as being more of like a romance between Ardeth Bay.
Yeah.
So he said it should be more of a action adventure romance, an Indiana Jones, a Pirates of the Caribbean, that style movie. A Congo. I know we brought up Mummy when we talked about Congo, because we talked about how Congo fails a lot in the areas of where Mummy succeeds.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
And we'll talk about if we were right when we talked about that in Congo, when we get to the walkthrough and the verdict, of course.
Absolutely.
But I know when we talked about Congo, we made that assumption. He pitched this idea to Universal saying, let's not do a remake. We can't remake The Mummy. You cannot remake a horror classic like that. Do that story, but do it with a completely different tone, a completely different budget, a completely different design. Mm-hmm. And so he suggests let's do it as an adventure. And Universal's on board for it. They liked it so much they gave him a bigger budget. They approved the concept. They approved the screenplay. They told him go for it. And then they have to try to figure out who to get as Rick O'Connell. The original producer wanted Tom Cruise, almost ironically, because of course Tom Cruise ended up being in the 2017 The Mummy.
Of course.
And they wanted a big... We'll get to that one day, I'm sure.
One day.
They we run out of things to talk about. So George of the Jungle comes out. That I know you and I saw in theaters.
Oh, yeah.
Is that on the list?
I think it has to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So George of the Jungle comes out, and Sommers and Jax like Brendan Fraser.
I like how you're like, it's the Brendan Fraser part of it.
And he says in the behind the scenes that he thinks that Brendan Fraser understands the character that he was going for, this Errol Flynn pirate, swashbuckler, scoundrel, Indiana Jones-esque character.
Because he's also like he's also a soldier. So he's both a soldier and kind of a scoundrel, like you were saying, a pirate because he was stationed in Egypt.
Yeah.
Or Cairo, somewhere over there.
Yeah, he's got kind of a smuggler type, adventure. He's
definitely
a cowboy.
The smuggler. Feels like Indiana Jones. Feels like Drake. From the Uncharted series. So I like that idea of it. Yeah.
They started filming in Morocco on set, and they were able to use a lot of the designs of the cities because it looked a lot more like 1920s-ish, because I guess it hadn't been updated, so they actually were able to take advantage of a lot of that.
Cool.
As we've talked about with a couple of different... In the main event of Volume 4, when we were talking about how the Twilight Zone was filming in Death Valley, and they were not prepared to film there, and people were having, heat stroke and shit.
Yeah.
Different here, where they were able to avoid dehydration. They created a drink that the cast and crew had to consume every 2 hours. And then there were sandstorms and stuff.
Wait. When you say they created a drink...
That's what this says. They created a drink.
It's got to be some electrolyte thing. It's got to have all of that added to it or something. That's such a weird way to say they had stuff for them to drink. It was
I'm guessing it's more
something.
It's a mixture of sugar water or something.
Well, that's why I'm it's got to be have electrolytes added to it and some type of concoction
from
that way. I just
an
was
article
wait.
from Empire magazine, so I can't really see it because it's an article from 1999 about the making of it, but I can't really quite see.
No, it's fine.
Anyway.
I just, it was just a weird way to say it. So I was like, they concocted something for them to drink, so they wouldn't get dehydrated.
They get ILM to do the special effects. ILM is one of those bigger Industrial Light and Magic. They do big movies all the time, so this was a chance for them to do something with The Mummy. They wanted to do it where they were trying to get the Mummy's actions down and stuff. We'll talk about that as we go through the walkthrough. So the movie comes out. So apparently test audiences did not like the title because they thought it was going to be a horror movie.
I suppose it does kind of evoke that feeling when you read The Mummy. It's going to be scary.
They thought that the Phantom Menace was going to bomb it, so they moved the date to be away from the Phantom Menace, which it probably would have. I mean, it obviously would have.
I mean, yeah, sure.
Grossed $43 million its opening weekend, finished second behind Phantom Menace, and then it grossed over $155 million in the US and Canada and $416 million worldwide. And then, like I said, it has mixed reviews. Roger Ebert gave it a positive review. That's the past. The past is the past on what people think of it. That doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter that it's in one of these competitive a year like 1999 where people say, oh, there's so many movies. Fight Club and Office Space and The Matrix and Phantom Menace and American Beauty and Being John Malkovich and The Sixth Sense and The Blair Witch Project and Iron Giant and Green Mile and American Pie and all of these movies that we'll get to, one day. And Rachel, the question that we will answer is, okay, regardless of what people think, what is the truth of the mummy? Does the mummy have shelf life?
That's right.
Oh, we do have to mention.
Uh-oh. What do we have to mention?
Because the other thing that makes us slightly nostalgic for the mummy, and that's the ride.
That's so true.
And it might be a bit of an after the credits situation when it comes to the ride, because I think
that one's gonna be a fun story to tell.
That ride is still not the one in. I've heard the one in LA is not very good.
Oh,
the
interesting.
one in Universal Studios Florida is still one of the absolute best rides.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Absolute best. It is a great ride. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it as an after the credits.
Oh
probably,
yeah, don't
folks.
spoil it now. We'll give you a full episode on it.
Yeah, so look forward to that, folks. But now is the time. Set aside everything else. Your preconceived notions aside, your nostalgic thoughts, your thoughts of Universal Studios and family vacations, or in Rachel's case, road trips where we watched this movie. And the question is, does the mummy have shelf life? After the break, we dive right into The Mummy. We'll be right back.
Now, from Milton Bradley, a weird game, Voice of the Mummy. Press the button. From within the tomb, the mummy speaks.
Look out! The unholy snakes of Ammon reach from below. Move up 1 level.
Each player tries to capture the sacred scarab. He who collects the most jewels wins. The Voice of the Mummy, the electric sound game from Milton Bradley.
That probably did this to many children when they first saw this. You become obsessed and super interested in mummies in general, Egypt, being an archaeologist, all of that kind of crap.
Do you think so?
Oh,
Do you think that
100%.
this prompted-
100%. Because I also remember taking a field trip to the museum and being like, that is going to be the most interesting section. I got a little sarcophagus keychain. Oh, yeah. I bet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I did not say it like that.
I do not sound like it. No, I know, but I'm just making fun of you. So I could see that being a thing. We used to, on Roller Coaster Tycoon, make an Egypt land.
Absolutely. As you should.
And we are back with the first walkthrough of Volume 5. It is The Mummy from 1999, starring the incomparable Brendan Fraser. Fraser?
Fraser. Fraser?
Fraser?
Now you're making me question it. Fraser? Fraser.
I think it's Fraser.
Fraser.
There's no... It's not like Fraser Crane.
Fraser.
Yeah, it's just an S, yeah.
Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser.
I still want to go...
Vaslu. Rachel Weisz.
Weish.
Weish? Niece? Anyway. Rachel, are you ready to begin the walkthrough of The Mummy?
I am thoroughly prepared.
Okay, are you?
We'll find out, I guess.
Bastard. So the movie begins with the Universal logo. I like it. I watched it on the 4K, so I got that new Universal logo.
Beautiful.
It doesn't do that for this movie. It doesn't
Oh.
do the big, epic intro.
That's
It has,
true.
the mummy music.
It
Jerry
does.
Goldsmith doing the mummy music on this. We've met Jerry Goldsmith many a time, I think, on our Shelf Life journey. At least once.
In life we have, yeah.
In life as well. Friend of the show, Jerry Goldsmith. I think he did Small Soldiers. Was that the one that he did?
Oh,
I think that's
I think you're
a Jerry
right.
Goldsmith one.
Well, that's a throwback. Go watch that one,
Yeah,
guys.
back
You
in the
can listen to that
archive,
one.
folks. Yeah, classic Shelf Life. At this
As in the
point,
second episode.
2 years prior. But we recorded it 3.5 years ago.
You don't have to tell people that. They don't need to know.
You're editing this. You can cut it out. It's fine.
Keeping it in. I'm keeping it.
The Universal Globe logo turns into the sun. And you know that you're in Egypt because you have the pyramids and then you have a sphinx being
That's
worked
right.
on. A bunch of messy CGI glory here, really. It's supposed to be this active, thriving European... European, Egyptian city of Thebes, but the outline of everything is very CGI.
It does,
I would say.
it does have that uncanny look to it while you're watching it. Almost animated.
It's almost animated. Yeah, it's very close to that. I want to know if this was considered good at the time.
Oh, I bet it was.
I think it was. I think it was like
was.
groundbreaking.
Which it's not bad. I mean, like watching it, it's not bad. It just has that weird, uncanny feeling to it.
It doesn't take you out of it, but you can tell nothing really has a texture. Like none of the
It feels too
none of the
smooth.
statues. Yeah, they all look way
smooth.
too smooth. Yes, exactly. The people don't look quite there either. You can tell that they've been like cut and put in to the frame, which works in stuff like the Ten Commandments, so I'm not going to completely complain about
That's
it
right.
here.
So shush.
But with
When are we
but
doing
with
Ten
the
Commandments?
yes, Ten Commandments is on the list, folks. Trust me, that one I also own the 4K of.
Now
That's gonna be like a 5-parter.
I don't even know how to feel about that one.
We are in Thebes, or
Yes, you said that.
Is that how you pronounce it? Thebes.
I think it's Thebes.
Which on Humankind was our second city that we built.
That's true.
I think you got Cairo as your first, and then you got Thebes was your second.
Right.
It's the city of the living, according to the narrator. We don't meet the narrator yet. The narrator is Ardeth Bay, played by Odette Fair. I, for the most part, Rachel, could not remember his name as I was taking notes, so I just kept referring to him as Magi.
Yeah, I was going to say,
And
it's
then
the
I was
Magi.
like,
you could just say.
he has a name, though. I was like, what is his name? I know he has a name.
Call him anything. I don't even think he says his name in the movie.
That's what I was wondering, because I was like, I know he has a name, and his name is Ardeth Bay, which is the name that Imhotep calls himself in the 30s movie. Like, that's the reference. But I don't know if they ever say it.
I don't think they do.
We'll have to see if they ever say that. So you see Imhotep on top of, like, this balcony somewhere. We're told that he's the pharaoh's high priest, the keeper of the dead. And the pharaoh has arrived in the city. He's on a chariot, so he is coming into Thebes. So this must be the home of Imhotep. It's also the home of Anaxunamun,
Yes.
who walks in looking
Half
fine
naked,
as hell,
mostly
wearing
naked.
nothing.
90%
she's
naked.
mostly naked.
Wearing paint and a loincloth.
She's wearing paint, a loincloth. All right, is the stuff
some,
covering
like,
her
jewelry.
chest? Is that also paint, or is that like a mesh? Because I always thought it was like mesh.
I always thought it was mesh paint, like as in it was just paint made to
okay.
look like mesh. Because I think
Well,
her
she looks-
entire body is painted. She's beautiful, and her
She looks
entire
great.
body is paint. She's got like a cloth covering the bottom part, but then everything else is just jewelry. Yeah.
Yeah, she looks great. She looks
Oh, she's fantastic.
she looks like a snack, as the kids would say.
She's a
Are
whole
they still
meal.
saying
How
that?
dare you?
Do they still say that?
I
A
don't
snack?
know.
Because that's still a thing, right?
I have
If
no
it's not, it
idea
should
if
be.
that's.
Folks at home, let's bring that back if it's gone.
She's got Riz.
No, Imhotep has Riz.
Emotep has Riz.
Yeah, so
How
does Rick
she
O'Connell.
have? She's drip. She's got. Oh, her outfit is drip. I think that's the term.
And they've gotten to the point where they're pretty much using Dink and Flicka. Everyone in this movie is gorgeous.
They are. It is horrendous. I've heard this is a sexual awakening movie. So
The pharaoh is gorgeous. The mummies are
the
gorgeous.
mummy's gorgeous. The
The curator
librarian
at the
is
museum
gorgeous.
is gorgeous. They're all gorgeous. The fat warden guy,
Gorgeous.
His dick apparently is in this movie.
What?
Yeah, I read that somewhere. In that one scene where he's trying to fend off the scarab that his dick is out. I didn't do a frame by frame to see
What?
it.
I doubt it's out. There's just no. There's got to just be a bulge.
It's probably a shadow or something.
It's got to be a bulge.
So Natsunamun walks in, wearing nothing. The other priests go to leave. So he's got all these gold men that are his priests, that are like Emotep's. I don't know what the hierarchy is here.
There
but
was a word. Yeah, I think they just call him his priests, right?
Yeah. So they're loyal to Emotep because they're like he's like their boss.
Right.
They leave knowing that Anaxunamun and Emotep are having an affair.
Oh, 100%.
Behind
they
the
closed the
pharaoh's
door.
backs. Because the narrator mentions that Anaxunamun is one of the pharaoh's
However many wives.
Yeah, I was gonna say his harem.
Concubines?
Like, this is when he goes to Thebes, he's, having a little fun with Anaxunamun.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to, like, if he's in Cairo or something, or Hamunaptra.
I see what you mean. Like,
some other
she is,
girl.
like, the head of this area.
She is the Thebes
Damn straight.
lady.
That's right.
Which means they're being very...
Obvious?
Yeah, like, he's here. Just wait till he leaves. What are you doing?
Yeah, he hasn't left yet.
I think that they planned this, though. I think that they wanted this to happen.
I think they did, too.
So she walks in. She does the hand waterfall thing from Face Off to him. That's like their thing.
Well, because she's not. So I think the idea of that is they're not really supposed to be able to touch each other. Nobody's supposed to be able to touch her body at all. Yes. Period. Like, that is only for the pharaoh. So when she does that, it's like
what a power move.
Well, when she says, like, my body is, like, no longer his vessel, or whatever it was, is, like, no longer his property. Temple.
I think his temple is what she says.
My body is no longer his temple, or whatever it is.
It's me, hi, unhappy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember that. Yes, absolutely. But I think that's, like, supposed to be, like, this, like, it's very intimate when she does the hand thing. Very intimate.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. They kiss, however.
Oh, absolutely. Because now it's like...
Not being able to resist. I get it. I've seen this lady. I understand.
Oh, if you look, Kevin, when it zooms in, those are all painted on.
Well,
like,
that just makes it even better. So,
anyways, I'm sorry, but go ahead.
And I think that's the point of the paint. It's like, okay, first of all, this means every day you wake up and you put on 4 hours of this shit.
Yeah.
Somebody has to paint all this on you.
Yes, and women still do it to this day. They will take hours to put on makeup.
But this is outrageous.
I mean, this is full body paint.
This is half your
day. What else is she gonna do? She's got all of her servants are doing it for her. She's got probably her ladies that come over, they paint her body, takes like a couple hours. She's good to go.
All right. I think this is outrageous.
They touch
but I guess
up stuff if it gets
the
smeared.
Pharaoh's concubine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imhotep does smear it.
Yeah, he touches her shoulder.
He touches her shoulder, smears some of the paint. Now, if they didn't want this to happen, and I think they did, you gotta be a little more improv on this Anaxunamun. You can be like, oh, I must have smeared it. The cat touched me. I don't know. There's cats everywhere.
Oh, no,
a cat's
I don't
rub
think
up
there's
against
gonna be any
you.
explaining that.
You don't?
No. Absolutely not.
I think they could have came up with something.
I mean, if anything, it's, I just rubbed my own shoulder. But then, like, show me your hands. It's not smeared.
I rubbed my own shoulder. The cat rubbed up against my shoulder. I rubbed it against the fucking carpet. I don't know.
There is no carpet. I mean, there's probably there's probably silks.
There's carpet. Yeah, there's silks. It's the Pharaoh's girlfriend. She's got a silk rug in that room.
Inside of this temple.
There's something
it's all
there.
Stone.
There is something in there. The Pharaoh busts in, and he looks slightly confused. I think it's kind of hard to tell what this actor is doing in this scene.
Well, he looks at them and he does say, "What are you doing?" So he is confused.
He asks the priest what they're doing there. Yeah. Because they go to shut the door, and the Pharaoh, like, kind of busts in anyway. And then he's like, what are you doing here? Like, what are Imhotep's priests doing in Anaxunamun's quarters?
Right.
Which, again, guys,
inappropriate.
What are you fucking doing? Do it in Imhotep's quarters.
That's true.
But they had this all planned. Because
100% they had to have had it planned.
Anaxunamun is standing there, and she's petting the cat statue, and the Pharaoh's staring at her, trying to figure out what happened. And then he questions her, and he says, like, who's touched you? Yeah, he sees the smear. She looks like, oh no, for a second, though. Yes. So I wonder what their plan actually was, and if they had to, like, okay, we just have to do it.
I think they had a plan, but then he saw that, and they went, oh, crap, it was too soon. Like,
yeah,
we had more to do here.
Yeah,
we were probably going to, like, lead him to another area or something.
Because they were playing to kill
about it.
Yeah. They absolutely were playing to commit
Maybe they were going to poison him or something.
Yes. There was definitely a plot.
They didn't know that they did it. And they were going to run off together.
Very possible. Because Imhotep takes the Pharaoh's sword.
Yes.
The Pharaoh's like, Imhotep, my high priest, like, what are you doing here? And before he can, like, get an explanation, Imhotep just slashes him.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
No, Anaxunamun takes a dagger and stabs him in the back first.
Yes. And then
they just stab the shit out
slashes,
of him.
and then they start slashing. And I think this and Anck-su-namun's killing herself is all done via shadow. There's a lot of shadow work, which I thought was very Universal
clever.
Horror movies-esque to do, like, all the death in the shadows.
Because
and
now
that
your
type of thing.
imagination is going, like, thinking about it and, like, picturing it versus having to see the blood splatter and everything.
Yeah. The Magi come in.
Well,
Well, they're trying to break in. The Magi are trying to break in. And Anck-su-namun tells Imhotep, like, you gotta go, you gotta get out of here. And Imhotep's, like, ready to take on the Magi. And she's like, no. You're the only person that can resurrect me, because I think he's the only one that knows how. He's dabbling in black magic.
Yes.
So,
no, that is it. He is dabbling in black magic. That's 100% what's going on.
So she's like, just leave. She does the hand waterfall thing again to him. And the priests drag him out of there. Now, question, Rachel. Because what happens is the Magi walk in. The Magi, by the way, I think are worse at their jobs than the Jedi. Because these Magi, you are the Pharaoh's sacred bodyguards.
Yes.
They finally bust into this room.
Right.
They walk slowly towards the bedroom
I don't
area.
think they knew he was dead. They didn't know anything
it's just
happened
the way that
yet.
They, like, kind of, like...
They saunter on in.
Yeah, they just... Like, you heard a scream or something. It was enough to make you go into the room.
it was enough to make them come in. You're right.
And then they see the body, and they're like, ah, shit. Like, they were, like, so, like, ah, man. Kind of messed this one up. and then
I think they were just trying to, figure out, like, wait, what happened? Because they probably thought she was in, like, something was happening to her more so than something that was happening to him.
Totally plausible. But I do have many examples of the Magi being incompetent.
That is totally fine,
movie.
because I do not disagree.
Okay. So as they're watching Seti's body on the ground, Anck-su-namun says her "it mean hi und ha feet out" or
which
whatever
means
she
my
says.
body is no longer his temple.
Yes, and I apologize to all our ancient Egyptians or Egyptians that know ancient Egyptian, because I'm just doing mumbly, goofy nonsense.
But it is.
But I always
that
remember
is, like,
her saying that
yes,
line.
I remember, like, the sound of it.
The affectation and how she
Absolutely.
says it. Yes.
Yes.
Because she says it very deliberately.
Oh, it's like, the power behind that. But I mean, that is a woman with power right there. I look
and
up
she
to
stabs
her.
herself. She commits seppuku and
Yes,
just
she
stabs
does.
herself in the stomach to kill
Correct.
herself, which is not the way to do it. Because that's
No.
just you're gonna bleed out and die slowly. Like, that's just not the way to go about that.
I wonder if she did that specifically, though, so that
So that she would be
wouldn't
brought back to
destroy-
life.
Yeah, she can't
Yeah.
destroy her organs and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
you're right. Because they put the organs in sacred jars.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because she was the pharaoh's
Well,
girlfriend,
yeah, of
they still
course.
have to do that,
Oh, of course.
even though she committed regicide. But I guess they don't know. They could have just thought
Well,
that Imhotep did it.
Yes, they could think Imhotep killed him, and then she's either doing something to say, like, screw him, kill myself, or saying, like, well, he's dead, also kill myself.
I'm killing myself.
To be with him,
That's
almost.
fair. But the Magi know the story.
Oh, I would have.
About
Yeah, so my
Anck-su-namun.
assumption, well, I think because they also find him trying to resurrect her. He stole her stuff, and then...
Yeah.
I mean, it could go one of those ways with it. Maybe they were just like, oh, okay, now she's dead, cool.
Mm-hmm.
But, like,
No.
they still do the same thing. They still do the mummification for anybody who dies. Like, especially when they're, like...
I don't know if they do it for anyone.
Well, not
who dies.
anybody,
They do it
but,
for
like,
important people.
For the ones of importance. Even the ones...
And she would have been important.
Correct. Even the ones who do something bad, they still...
Something very naughty.
Naughty.
So she kills herself, and we get more narration about how Imhotep stole her body from its crypt, and they took it to Hamunaptra.
And all the canopic jars.
Hamunaptra, the city of the dead, which is where they were going to do a ritual to resurrect her.
Right. Which, here, fun fact, so typically there are 4 canopic jars during mummification. She has 5. Not a damn clue what's in that 5th jar. But it's just an interesting fact.
She has 5, and one of them breaks
Correct.
anyway.
Yes.
So it doesn't even serve a purpose to the rest of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah,
I don't
wonder
remember what the I don't know
symbolism is
what
supposed to be
the
there.
yeah, I don't know which god or like which
Tiger.
is it the tiger?
It's the tiger.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they put.
I don't know
into
why
that
I know.
one.
I don't know why I know that, but I know that because I've watched the movie too much, and I always go, "Oh, the tiger one broke,"
Right.
and it could just be a flub.
It could
of
be.
the
It could just be
Americans
like an
making the movie
interesting
and
thing. Yeah.
Not knowing. They claim that they hired Egyptologists to help them with the ancient Egyptian. They wanted it to be accurate. I don't know how accurate it actually is or not, but they claim that it's supposed to be fairly accurate to an ancient Egyptian text and verb.
Sure.
So it would be weird that if they got that canopic jar thing wrong.
Well, it was just something I was reading because I was just like, I wonder what was in that fifth jar.
His heart.
Whose heart?
Seti's.
Imhotep?
No, Seti's. The pharaoh.
Oh, the pharaoh. Now he would have just been by himself. They would have put him with all of his own body parts and his riches.
Yeah, so that's a good question. What did they cut off? Your ass just won't quit, so we had to put it in this canopic jar.
Yeah, it says traditionally there's only 4. I am not going to say any. I don't know how to say this one because it's got a Q in the front. Oh, so maybe hers is the heart. I bet the tiger's the heart. That's going to be my guess, right? Or the brain. It's got to be one of those two. Because if it's lungs, liver, stomach, and intestines, one of them has to be brain or heart would be the 5th one. Anyways. But I just remember reading that when I was like looking some stuff up with the movie, and I was like, oh, it's interesting that there's like traditionally 4, and she had 5.
As we have learned with everything, there is a wiki for the Mummy franchise.
Yes, I also noticed that.
It is called, Rachel,
Uh-oh.
Wikipedia.
No, it's... Oh, it is. Oh my god!
Gotta love it.
It's amazing.
It is undisclosed as to why the 5th is broken in 2. Typically only 4 canopic jars were used in the real-world mummification process. But they don't know why there's a 5th one.
No. It's so weird that, like, nobody has ever questioned it.
Oh, it was a lion. It wasn't a...
It was a big cat.
Tiger.
We were very close.
Yeah.
It does look more like a tiger. I agree.
Okay, so anyway. He takes her body to Hamunaptra to perform this ritual. I thought that this scene, especially because I have to speak about it with my 4K, I thought it looked pretty good in the dark. Of them traveling and then going down into the crypts. It has a sense of dark magic and stuff. Like the purples and the blacks. It all looks very good. It has this good purple look to it. Very
warm
rich.
Glow. Yeah.
Yeah. Our Death Bay says that he dared the god's anger by taking the Book of the Dead. Because he steals it from its holy resting place. Mm-hmm. And he attempts to resurrect her. And this is where I was like, wait, is it her stuff in the jars? But it is her stuff in the jars.
Yes.
Like, he needs it as part of the way to resurrect her.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if the lion, because it, like, represents, like, the lion heart. I know that sounds stupid, but it's also such a thing.
Well, why is the jackal the liver?
Well, I'm not talking about...
So
I don't think it's anything to do with Egyptian stuff. I'm just thinking, like, lion heart. Like, that's kind of a saying.
Oh, sure.
It's a thing. So I'm wondering if they, in their minds, went, her heart is in the 5th one. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm guessing.
So because
I'm
he
guessing
wants
that the
her
heart
heart
is supposed to be the
back.
5th one. Yeah. And then it's broken.
And it's broken.
So it's... Yeah.
That's
right.
Look at all the representation we figured it out.
Yeah, we made it out. We made
There's
that
the
up,
canon
folks.
for everybody.
Make that canon. Change Wikipedia to say Shelf Life posited that this is possible.
She has a lion heart, and it was broken.
This curse makes absolutely no sense. Which I will get. I'll explain why in a second. I'll explain why I don't understand it. It's bothered me since the moment I watched this movie the first time 25 years ago or whatever.
The curse
But
on the Noxuna moon, or the curse?
The curse on Imhotep
Okay.
makes absolutely no sense.
Well, because they stop him. The Magi come in and they stop him.
Yes,
he actually does bring her back for a minute there, but he has to stab her. He has to kill her.
The soul comes out of the CGI pool.
Oh yeah,
the spawn pool.
The lake of the dead.
Yeah. This house on haunted hill looking terrible CGI comes up and it
like
sucks into her body.
It's like a wraith.
The haunting. Yeah, whatever. But before you can finish, the Magi show up, so I guess they did something right. But I think they followed him here because they were trying to figure out what the hell he was up to.
Well, I think they also knew he stole the stuff.
Yeah, they found out that he stole the stuff.
Her resting place was already uncovered and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. The narrator says that they were all mummified alive for accessory to murder the priests and
Yes.
the desecrating and attempted resurrection and stuff, I think. And then Imhotep gets the hum die put on him, which we all know is the worst. I wonder if this is real, but it's the worst, according to Odette Fair. This is the worst of all the ancient Egyptian curses. It had never been bestowed, which I guess blasphemy and regicide will do that to you. Like, you murder the pharaoh and you anger the gods, you're going to get the worst of the curses we can think of. That's fine. They wrap him up like a mummy, which I, again, have to say, looks great in 4K. You can see...
fictional.
Oh, wonderful. That's what I figured. Because why would it? Why would they have this? Why would this be a thing? They wrap him up, and it
Oh yeah, they cut its tongue off. They're
super detailed in the wrappings on the 4K, by the way. You can see the texture in it. It was pretty awesome. Dump him into this coffin, or sarcophagus, and then they throw in a barrel of the scarabs.
Yes.
Which are these little beetle things that apparently eat human flesh.
Isn't that horrendous? That's horrifying and awful.
And very much a part of the ride.
Yes.
I'm surprised it's not more a part of the ride. Thank God it's not part of the ride where they tickle your legs or something like that. Then I never would do it.
I mean, already having them make the noises around your head is enough, I think. That's skittering.
Right. So they lock him up, they throw him away, and he's the undead for all eternity because he's going to be eventually dead, but they're going to eat him alive is the idea.
Yes. Oh, the cat. Neither dead or alive.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Schrodinger's cat. He's Schrodinger's cat. He's neither dead nor alive in that box because, they buried him alive and he's supposed to be undead for all eternity. And
So what is Schrodinger's cat?
you don't know Schrodinger's cat? Oh, so
Don't
a
know
cat,
that one.
If a cat is placed in a box, it's like this whole hypothetical, right? A cat is put into a box, and then the cat itself would be considered both alive and dead simultaneously. Because, you'd have to open the box to find out if it's dead or alive. So simultaneously, while it's in the box, it's dead and alive.
Okay, interesting.
You don't know about... Okay, it's a scientific thing. I'm sorry.
No, I just don't know that one. So I learned something today.
I don't know if I probably didn't explain it perfectly. It's supposed to be a paradox. It's supposed to be like one of those paradoxes,
understand.
Right?
Yeah,
So
it's a paradox.
So I was just making like a silly thing
No,
where
that's
he's
fair.
like
That's
Schrodinger's cat because he put him alive
because they put him in
with
and you don't know.
scarabs, and you don't know what the hell happens to him.
Oh, I got it now.
Okay.
I don't quite know where you would apply that to. It definitely sounds like some sort of philosophical, scientific question. The folks at home, I'm sure, know, and I'm just a big dum-dum, and I don't understand.
I think it's quantum physics.
That's why I don't understand.
Anyways.
So the curse. Let's talk
we
about
probably
the curse.
could have talked about that in Interstellar.
Probably. If he were to ever be reborn, he would bring with him death and destruction and the power of
plagues.
invincibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it goes up through the statue of not Horus,
Anubis.
the other one, Anubis, and it does the mummy thing.
Right, yeah.
And says the mummy. This curse makes no sense. This is how I have to justify this, Rachel. Why in God's name, or in Anubis's name, would you, or Osiris's name, because I think that's the priest that Imhotep was.
Yes.
Why would you put a curse on someone that if they are resurrected, they will have the power of the plagues of Egypt and immortality? Why would you do that? And the only thing I can think of is you put it on so badly. You put something on that he could take over the world with so that no one attempts to do this. And like no one attempts to go there. However, he has followers because he has these priests. Someone might do this. Why would you ever make this the curse? It just seems counterintuitive.
I mean, it really does, because you'd think, like, oh my god, if this ever happens, it's destroying the world.
So it just...
But
it feels
maybe
like
it's one of those things where it's such a horrible thing to do to the person, right? It completely destroys their like soul and whatever. It's
and their
like,
ability to come back.
and it's just the negative part of it. If you ever use this horrendous thing against somebody, this is the negative thing that could potentially happen that comes from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully it doesn't. You're kind of like banking on it not actually happening.
It's almost like a punishment for the Magi, too, where it's like, we have to make sure that this creature is never allowed to come back again. So we need to make it so devastating that for thousands of years, this Imhotep is never allowed back.
Right.
Like, I can see that potentially being...
And it's like it's such a torture.
Yeah.
It's such a torture.
But it is a odd thing to do.
It is
when you
very odd because
it
just it gives him so much power. It gives him so much power if anyone were to resurrect him.
The sands wash away the statue of Anubis. I kept writing.
I know
Horus,
you want to say Horus.
And I finally remembered it was Anubis.
But it's not. They got it wrong.
The other one
Benbridge scholars got it wrong.
Well, I was a part of the Benbridge Scholars program, so I.
You kept thinking he was buried at the feet of a Horus and not Anubis. This is what happens.
So we go from 5000 BC to 1923 AD, and we're at the ruins of Hamunaptra. We're not quite sure what sides these are, but it looks like the French Foreign Legion.
Okay.
I think is what, and I think that is actually confirmed somewhere in
is.
Rick's. That's like what I thought it was, and then I think that is truly what it's supposed to be.
It's one of those things that's just like talked offhand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the French Foreign Legion is there. There's another group as well coming on horseback into the city. And then the narrator shows himself as the Magi are at the bay, keeping watch. Like, the Magi are just watching this battle take place.
Like, why would you even allow this battle to be happening at Hamunaptra?
Well, what are they going to do?
I don't
know. Better off. They're better off letting both sides
like
take
letting them
out
kill
as
each
much.
other. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can take out whoever's
the
left.
rest. Fair. That's fair. It's kind of what they do.
So that is kind of that's what their plan is.
Yeah.
We see Rick and Benny. They're both in a line, and they're being led by some guy. And then the captain, the captain retreats because he sees all of these people coming in on horseback, and he's like, "We're fucked. I'm getting out of here."
Because it's not a very long line that's happening.
No. And Benny, played by Kevin O'Connor.
I was gonna say he's O'Connell.
Doing some sort of like Egyptian face a little bit. I can't tell what he's supposed to, like, what nationality he's supposed to be.
You know, I don't think it really matters. I don't know what he's supposed to be.
He's got a traditional fez.
He wears a fez. He wears a fez. He's got like a little thin mustache.
Yeah.
And he's a coward.
Yes, compared to Rick, who is a Brendan Fraser type. And he looks like big Brendan Fraser from 1999.
Yes.
And
yes, he does.
Benny tells him, "You just got promoted." He tells Benny, "You still with me here?" And Benny's like, "Oh, always, or to the end, or whatever. Or your strength gives me strength," I think is what he says.
Yes, your strength gives me strength.
Your strength gives me strength.
Everything he says always has that, like, tenor of...
Yes, he's a coward.
Yes, the coward, it
total weasel.
Scratches. Oh, he's a total weasel.
If this was an animated movie, he would be a rat or a weasel.
I think
like, that would be like the animal. Yeah. So the captain retreats, and then Benny retreats, and Rick, our hero, holds the line, and then they fire, and then a battle breaks out in Hamunaptra. So Rick is just like a mercenary or something, or is he just kind of like one of these guys that was like, it's the 20s, I got nothing to do, I want to go on adventures, and he joins the French Foreign Legion?
Do you want me to go forward where he had like a small explanation?
Go for it.
Okay, he said that he was stationed in, I think he said Cairo.
Libya, I think it was.
Was it Libya? So he's stationed in Libya, nearby, and they were like, oh, there's supposed to be this place that has a ton of riches and stuff. So they go AWOL, I guess is the idea, and they travel here to find riches in what it was like not even known if it was real or not.
And I get that part of it.
Yeah.
But, like, why is he in the French Foreign Legion? Like, why is he this, like, American that's
I have
a part
feeling
of this?
He got sucked up into this because of, like, the AWOL stuff and everything, and they came here, and maybe they, like, crossed paths with them, and, like, he
See, that's why I
maybe
keep
there was
thinking,
like a fight
he's...
already happening before this one.
He's just this, like, adventurer. He just, like,
Oh,
is a
100%,
treasure
he
hunter
seems
and
like
an explorer.
Yes, I agree. He seems more like a treasure hunter type of deal. But it was the fact that he said he was stationed and all of that it's like that he kind of became this treasure hunter.
This goes 3 years into the future, so there's other stories that he has,
Oh,
apparently.
absolutely.
They shoot at the lines, and more cavalry come in, and it breaks Rick's line. And then they just go ham on this platoon as Rick tries to fight them off. The action's all right in this scene. It's just a big
a lot of stuff
battle.
happening.
Rick's running away. He gets to double fist some revolvers. He retreats into the city. Benny then hides himself in a bunker, and he leaves Rick outside.
Yes.
So Rick
Don't you
ends
close
up.
that door.
Don't you close that door! That's my Brendan Fraser. Mikey, don't you close that door! Rick runs out of guns, and he runs into the middle of the city. He's being chased from
Bullets?
all sides. Yeah, you're right, bullets. He doesn't run out of guns.
I mean, you
I
can
always feel like that's the phrase, though. Like, I ran out of guns.
I mean, if he picks up, like, other people's guns and stuff, I mean, if video game-wise, sure, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, you're right. He could have picked up another gun. If it was a video game, he would have. They go to execute him. He's backed up below the statue of Anubis.
Right.
That's, like, standing above the sand still. But before they execute him, they back off and run away. Some of their horses get spooked.
Yes.
I was like, how do you get a horse to fall down like that? That's like a hell of a stunt for that horse actor.
That poor horse, honestly.
He's an actor. He knows what he's doing.
Sure, I suppose, but horses are
Hopefully they didn't put him down.
Oh, boy.
There's
Well, if he
always that
twisted an ankle.
You know. Yeah.
Sorry, horse enthusiasts, but they are kind of dumb.
They are very dumb. They're empathetic. They understand your feelings, but they don't know what's going on.
I don't think they do. And then if something scares them, they'll just run straight into a fence and die. So I don't know what you want me to say.
Also true. Well, that's because they're a mode of transportation. Rick is confused as to why he didn't get murdered. And then we hear a voice whispering. There's literally like a voice whispering in the wind. Mm-hmm. And he backs away from the statue, and then sand starts to engulf him a bit. It is kicking up.
Yeah, it's like it's drawing in the sand.
I like this effect.
Oh yeah.
I didn't like the face effect as much, but the one where it's like pushing up into him is pretty good.
Yes. Well, I have a feeling that was actually a practical effect. I have a feeling they had stuff under the sand pushing it up.
I think it was more practical. And then the face emerges, and that's totally CGI, and it looks like a screensaver.
And it's the mummy making his moaning noise.
Do the Magi see that whenever, do they always see, it's Imhotep again, it is the creature, he's trying to emerge from the crypt?
I don't know.
Wouldn't or is it just because he sees people there, so Imhotep's, trying to call people to him to, get resurrected?
Maybe.
One army then leaves, and then it's just left with Rick, and the Magi are happy, and they're finally, okay, great, he's not going to be disturbed again. Rick runs the other way, turning back to see the Magi standing there, and they're like, should we kill him? And the Magi's like, let the desert do it. So again, you could have just done it.
But
you could have done your job.
Okay, so hear me out.
Killed him.
Hear me out. He has a touch of destiny about him.
He does have a touch of destiny
so
about him. I completely agree with that.
I'm wondering if there was something with that. And he's like, I don't think we should kill him. There was probably maybe there was a feeling,
A touch.
A destiny. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. Tia Dalma.
No,
I
I'm
love
glad
her.
that you put that in there. I don't know why they don't do it. It just seems like Ardeth Bay as head Magi is we've killed a lot of people.
It was probably
over the last 5,000 years.
Yeah, he's probably just gonna die in the desert. It's the desert.
Yeah, he's let the desert do it. Let's try to not have so much blood on our hands. 3 years later now in Cairo, and we're at the Museum of Antiquities, where a librarian, played by Rachel Weisz. Rachel Weisz can get it. She can still get it. I remember watching Black Widow thinking, oh, Rachel Weisz still can get it.
She is a gorgeous actress.
Rachel Weisz, if you're listening, give me a call. Shelf Life Kevin. You can't make Rachel Weisz look bad.
No.
They're trying to make her look like a little nebbish librarian a bit. And it's you... Come on.
She's still so cute.
She tries to put a book back on the ladder from far away and ends up in the middle of the floor on
But
stilts.
she's so clumsy. This is horrifying.
I'm just so clumsy.
But this is horrifying. Honestly, I would be horrified if I was on the top of a ladder and now I'm screwed.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out. I guess this is pre the ladders that had the wheels on them and are attached to these big bookshelves, because like that would have solved this problem. She wouldn't have had this like manual ladder.
You're right, but this isn't attached. This one is probably one that she has to like move from bookcase to bookcase.
Now, Rachel, throughout our journey here on Shelf Life, you have graded libraries. So do you want to grade the Library of the Book of Antiquities here?
Okay, well, this library, it's a little messy. It's a little dank. It's a little dark.
Because her character is supposed to be that she's like a clumsy...
She's a bit of a clumsy woman.
Bookish, nebbish librarian.
Yeah.
Her head's in the books.
Oh, absolutely.
She doesn't have any practical experience.
Yes.
I think she's supposed to be kind of nerdy.
And she's a woman, so like her having a job like this is probably
what does a woman know?
Exactly. Yeah.
All these things I've said over the years. Yeah.
But I mean, this library, the setup of it too, the way that it
you
domino
don't like this
effects,
circular domino library?
I mean, it's an interesting way of doing things. I mean, I kind of like the setup where you have like the desk in the middle, and then you have like you're surrounded by the.
Yeah, I do like that idea.
It's kind of nice though. Mm-hmm. So
if I had enough square footage. So what ends up happening to her, as Rachel's talking about and alluding to, is that she attempts to steady herself on these stilts. She's not able to do it. It gets very, very silly. It gets...
She could have died. All right? I'm just going to point that out.
It's supposed to be giving us an idea of who this character is.
Yes.
She ends up running back and hitting one of the bookshelves, and then all the bookshelves start to fall in a circle in a domino effect, which they apparently actually did this effect. This is real, and if they would have messed it up, they would have missed out an entire day of shooting because it would have taken like 10 hours to put everything back up.
Oh, that would have been a pain to have to clean up.
But it did work. And it looks good, and it gives you the idea of who she is.
And she just goes, oops.
Yes, very quietly. Oops. The curator shows up and is frustrated. Compared to the other plagues...
Because he's yelled, sons
the
of the pharaohs.
The other plagues were joy, yes. Sons of the pharaohs.
Locusts.
Yeah. She's a catastrophe.
I mean, he's fantastic at this, I gotta say.
Yeah, this is good. He asks why he puts up with her, and then we get a bunch of exposition to explain who she is, why she's here, and what her backstory is. She can read ancient Egyptian and hieroglyphics, and she can categorize everything in this library, and nobody else can within 1,000 miles. And the curator responds that, no, I put up with you because your parents donated a bunch of money to the museum. God rest their souls. So then we find out that her parents have died. So I'm glad that we got all that out of the way in a very matter-of-fact way. So he tells her to straighten all of this up and leaves so that she can straighten all this up.
Right.
Now, one woman having what is she supposed to do? Is she supposed to lift these bookshelves back up? What are you supposed to do?
I mean, if you can get the books and at least stack them to the side so somebody else can come in.
Organize them again? Yeah. She hears a noise coming from another room in the museum, and she goes into it, and it's the room where all the sarcophaguses are. I thought this was supposed to look a lot like the 1930s opener.
I could see that.
I've seen the first 10 to 15 minutes of that Mummy movie, and it's pretty much the Rick/Jonathan character sitting at a table, and then Emotep is there, and it's supposed to be the sarcophagus room. So I think that's what you're supposed to be an homage to. She holds out a lantern, and and cautiously walks through the crypt.
Torch?
I think it is a torch. You're right.
It's not a lantern; it's a torch.
You're right. It's a torch.
It's on fire.
Torches in this movie. No lanterns. Only torches.
Only torches.
Love a good torch. Torches are more fun.
Yes.
And then she gets a jump scare as a mummy pops up, and we get Jonathan scaring her.
Yes.
Now, this movie does a couple of jump scares through this, Rachel, which I'm never a big fan of jump scares. It's effective. This one's effective.
Right.
And for the type of movie that you're doing as an adventure movie, I'm okay with it. And I get that, even John Carpenter, when we talked about Halloween, was talking about how he wanted Halloween to have a sense of a haunted house with the jump scares and stuff. He didn't call them jump scares, he called them haunted house scares, which is the same thing here. But it is a cheap way to get a scare out of somebody, because all you have to do is,
well, as long as you build up the tension properly.
If you build up the tension properly, it's fine. Otherwise, it's a very simple thing to do because you just go silent. And then there's the sound, and then that sound makes somebody jump.
Yes.
You're gonna startle somebody because there's silence, and then you're just waiting for something to happen. So that always is going to happen.
Well, that's why you can sometimes subvert somebody's expectations, make it seem like it does, like it actually it's not going to happen, and then they make it happen like a separate way or a different way that you think it's going to happen.
The movie The Exorcist 3 apparently has the best jump scare in history because it does that. Jonathan, her brother, Rachel, Jonathan, any thoughts on this character?
I actually have a lot of thoughts on this one, honestly.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Jonathan is the comic relief brother, right?
Yes.
He's kind of adorable.
As all brothers are.
Yes. He's kind of adorable. But I'm not usually a big fan of comic reliefs. But this guy, I think, is the way you should do a comic relief character.
Can you explain?
Well, I think he's not just a biddly-dinky-dink boink stupid dude, right? He wants to be clever, he wants to be fun, he wants to be funny, but he's also intelligent, and he also knows, like, Egyptian, and he does. And he also, like, and I feel like he's probably been through a lot, and I think that's why he kind of uses jokes as his way of dealing with things.
He's much more of a treasure hunter than
Yes.
Evie. Like I think he's more opportunistic.
I think he's also a bit of a clumsy person for being a treasure hunter, but yes, I agree.
And he's a thief.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
He's like a little thief.
He's a bit of a petty
thing.
thief, yeah.
Yeah. But he says that he tells Evie that he found something, and he found it in a dig in Thebes.
Right.
So
he's
is
an archaeologist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Hannah playing Jonathan here is the actor who's always good and stuff. Pops up here and there for sure nowadays too. His career is ruined according to her. So that makes me think that he did try to like swipe some stuff from a dig somewhere, and like now he's kind of like blackballed from the archaeologist. Like there's like a lot of that you could imply there just because of like his attitude and like the way that he stole from Rick and things like that.
Right.
That he gambles with the Americans and stuff.
Right.
And you're right, he is goofy, he's aloof.
He's aloof. That's the best way to say it, I think. But he's not just like a dumb guy, like a dumb character doing stupid things. And I feel like that's the only way they make those characters now, is here's the stupid guy doing stupid things. Well, it's like, that's not funny. It's just annoying.
Yeah, then they just become annoying.
Right.
The scholars rejected her for not having enough experience in the field to be a Bembridge scholar.
Bem, with an M. Bembridge Scholars. Bembridge Scholars.
He shows Evie the trinket that he got, and she's astonished by this right away. And she realizes that it opens, so she, like, presses something on it. Now, again, ancient Egyptian thing, I wouldn't just be pressing it. A spike could fucking come out of it. Fucking Pinhead could shoot out of this thing. You don't know what this is.
No, but, like, back then, are they really thinking like that? Or are they just...
They know that there are, like, curses and stuff on this.
They know there's curses, but they don't think that they're real. She definitely doesn't think any of that's real.
I would be terrified that if I press this thing the wrong way, a dagger's coming out and going through my hand.
Because the Egyptians are known to have, like, booby-trapped everything.
Yes, that's what I mean. The booby traps on this. Or a Cenobite's gonna come out and pin me to a wall and talk about how much delightful sights they have to show me. So she opens it up, there's paper inside, and it's a map. And she brings it to the curator, because she's like, I think you did find something. She's like, okay, see there, it's Seti's symbol, so it's got to be 3,000 years old, and it looks like Hamunaptra's on it.
Right.
The curator's like, that's a myth, that's not real, it's just something to amuse tourists. People talk about it, they talk about a curse of the mummy and stuff like that, because it's not real. And Jonathan's like, well, what was Hamunaptra? And Evie says that it was the city where Seti kept all of the riches. It's the city of the dead, but he kept all the riches of Egypt there. So anytime that they would like conquer something, they would put all the riches in Hamunaptra because it was such a fearsome city because like it's spooky
so it was
and
hard
cursed.
for them. They wouldn't go there because of the curses and everything.
Yeah,
that are already
and they
put
thought
on it.
it wouldn't be stolen and stuff. So it was like a good place to just keep all the treasure. And they want to go for the treasure, and the curator is like accidentally, quote unquote.
Oh my god. Yes. Spoiler alert.
burns the city off because he's got it too close to a candle as he's looking at it.
If you know what to
Yes.
look for, if you know what you're looking for, and you're watching him, he totally does it on purpose while he's talking.
Yes.
He like moves it towards
Yes,
the
he's
fire. He makes
moving
sure
it
it
closer.
gets on
It's
fire, and then
actually-
he goes,
it's
"Oh,
actually really good
my
direction."
word!"
Yeah, it's a very good direction, and it's very well done by the actor because he's slowly moving it towards the candle.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
The whole time, trying to make it look like an accident. He burns off the part of Hamunaptra, and he's like, well, no one ever found this. It's never going to be found. It's not real. And he's like, and a ton of people have tried to find it. No one ever has, and most have never returned. It cuts to a prison. And this is because Jonathan has fessed up to Evie that he didn't really find it in a dig in Thebes. I'll get to that later.
Yes.
'Cause I think it would have been interesting to go to Thebes at some point because that was the city where this happened.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you wouldn't have been going back and forth between Cairo and Hamunaptra the entire time. You would have had another location, which I think that
Yes.
this movie could use because it's supposed to be an Indiana Jonesesque adventure. Go to a few places.
That would
Thebes
be
could have been
okay.
a place.
I would be okay with that.
He stole it from a drunk, is what
Yes.
he says.
Now, Kevin,
Mm.
I don't know if you were paying attention to the background. Did you notice the men in hamster wheels?
I did not notice men in hamster wheels. I definitely missed out on that.
So I
That could be
don't.
in part our animated version of it.
The whole bunch of hamsters in the.
Yeah. So
I don't know if it's a form of torture, or if it's a
Or are
form
they
of
powering
exercise.
something?
I don't really know. But there are these like couple of hamster wheels, and there's a man running inside of it.
I did not notice that. Okay, so I googled it. So it was a punishment.
I had to bring it up.
Called the Pennell Treadmill. So it was steps set into two cast iron wheels. They drove a shaft that could be used to mill corn, pump water, or connect a large fan for resistance. They were used in prisons during the 19th century in Britain and the United States. The treadmill was used as a method of exerting hard labor, a form of punishment prescribed in the prisoner's sentence. So it is a form of punishment.
Okay, but it also is probably powering something. So we have
Yeah,
like
or
other
doing
ones
some
working from doing
thing.
something that they're
Yeah.
powering, and they're getting
Yeah.
their punishment by having to run that day.
So we meet our warden character.
Yes.
And I will always remember his delivery of both. Well, actually, the line coming up
He
about
had
a
a
very good time.
very
'cause he
good
says,
time.
Yes, that one. Yes, because he's like, well, why is he in prison? And the warden's like, well, when you said that you were coming to meet him, I asked him, and he says that he was just looking for a good time.
Yes,
And they unveil Rick after the 3 years, and he just
he
looks
like he's from George from the Jungle. Yeah.
or Encino Man. Yeah,
Yeah.
either way. Yeah. He's got this long hair on him. They almost make him try to look like he's going to be like feral or something.
Rabid?
Like he's
But
yeah.
it's just because they're beating him as he's being brought out, I think.
And he says, well, she's not a total loss. And I like how much of a caricature the warden is. The warden is like a very cartoonish.
Oh my god, yes.
They ask about the puzzle box. And he says, well, don't put it into the 9th whatever configuration from Hellraiser because that will open up hell. No. You're not asking me about the puzzle box. You're asking me about Hamunaptra.
Hamunaptra. And they're like, shh.
Yeah. They're like, well, what do you know about Hamunaptra? And he's like, that's where I found it.
Yeah.
And this entire time, too, he's asking Jonathan, like, don't I know you from somewhere? You look really familiar. And then he realizes who he was, and he punches Jonathan in the face. Because
Yes.
I think he knew the entire time.
He went, wait a minute. Puzzle box, Hamunaptra, you.
Like, how did you get it? Yeah. Evie keeps talking to him.
Yeah, she just steps over her brother, which I think is funny.
Yeah. He looks a little like Jason Momoa, too.
A little bit.
Jason Momoa could be a good Rick O'Connell.
I
in
could
a
see that.
remake.
Yeah, I could
Yeah.
see that.
Or Roman Reigns. I'd actually prefer Roman Reigns.
Roman would be better.
To be honest,
He's not as
I
much of an
actually
actor,
prefer-
but I think he would be better.
I'd prefer Roman Reigns in the Odette Fair Ardeth Bay role. I think he'd be a good Magi.
Oh, he would be a phenomenal Magi. Oh, I like it. Yeah. I'm okay
Then
with
The Rock
this.
can come back as the Scorpion King.
You really could, couldn't he? He really could.
Evie asks him how to get there, and he's like, do you really want to know? Do you really want to know? And then he assaults her and says, then get me the hell out of here.
And when Kevin says he
kisses
assaults her and he kisses her,
he does. He steals a kiss. He grabs her face and kisses her and says, get me the hell out of here.
Right.
1926, this just happens. Like, you can just kiss anybody on the street in 1926. They're not going to, what are they going to say?
You're traumatizing them, yes, but yes, it does happen.
You can't do anything about it. I kissed you. That's a compliment.
I don't like saying, this.
It's like saying, how's your mother?
I don't like this. I don't like this conversation.
So they drag him off. Evie's like, what are they going to do with him? And the warden says, they're going to hang him. And he goes, this line I remember very well. Because the delivery of it is so specific. Because he says,
apparently, he had a very good time.
good line.
It was very well done. Yes. Well done.
This is the scene where they almost killed Brendan Fraser. You ever heard about this, Rachel?
I think I remember that. But go ahead, tell the story.
They do this gimmick where they hang him, and Evie and the warden are going back and forth, and Evie's like, I'll give you £100 to not kill him. And he's like, I'd pay £100 just to watch him get killed.
Right.
So she keeps upping the price. They go to do the hanging, and Rachel's touch of destiny comes back because his neck doesn't break.
That's right.
He's just hanging there.
Being, like, strangled to death.
Strangled to death.
Very, very Pirates of the Caribbean style.
So, Rachel, they actually did this. This was an actual stunt that they allowed Brendan Fraser to do. Harnessed, of course, so that he didn't break his neck. They had it on slightly wrong. They actually strangled him.
I mean,
And
some of
Rachel-
the faces he's making, I could see that. That's creepy and horrible.
Rachel Weisz had said that he actually passed out. They had to resuscitate him. So they actually accidentally almost suffocated him.
My God.
Hey, that's movies, man. You gotta do it. But it was around his neck too tight, I guess, was the problem. Nowadays, it would probably be a stunt man, and it would probably be like half CGI or something stupid.
Well, he would be standing on a box. I don't think he'd actually be dangling.
No. But to your point, this is a very Pirates-esque scene here, too.
Yes.
And another adventure-esque scene.
Right.
So they get very lucky that he didn't break his neck.
Oh my God,
she didn't get to the point where she could barter with the warden here. Right. So she ends up telling the warden that he knows the location of Hamunaptra.
He doesn't want to believe her, but because he's like very interested in that.
Right, because this is a myth that everyone knows about the treasure. And he's like, how does this... I can't remember exactly what he calls him, but he calls him something, son of a pig? How does this, like, low-life son of a pig...
I'm pretty sure it's son of a pig, yeah.
Yeah. Know the location of the city of the dead. She's like, I don't know, but he does. And if we take you there, we'll split the findings with you. And this warden, being a caricature dum-dum, does the negotiation wrong and negotiates himself into 25% when she had offered 30.
No, 40, I think. She was going to give him 40%, and then he dropped it back down.
The guy is stupid and fucks up this haggling, but she stands up in pleasure of herself for getting him out, and he sees from the bottom of this pit that she, like, stands there as, like, I saved you.
I saved you.
Yeah.
I
so
did
Rachel, we have... Yes, exactly. I did exactly what you asked for, so now you have to help me.
Yes.
So then they get ready to go, and they're going to go on their adventure. Jonathan and Evie are at the dock, and they're getting ready, and they're waiting for Rick to come. And Evie calls him a scoundrel and a scallywag or whatever the hell else she calls him.
Filthy and rude and...
But of course, here's handsome Rick, because he had the opportunity to take a shower and shave. Evie warns him about it being a flim-flam.
She says something about Hamunaptra being a flim-flam.
Yeah, and I think it's like
kind of some flim-flam, like you can't guarantee.
She's like, don't tell me that this is we better not get all the way there, and then you tell me that this doesn't actually exist. Yeah.
Yes, she threatens him.
This is where we find out the thing about that you were talking about, Rachel, where he's like, my battalion went all the way there to find this stupid city, and all they found was sand and blood. Is that metaphorical or is that true?
I think it's also true.
Okay.
Because like, where's the rest of his battalion?
Dead.
Sand and blood.
Okay.
I do like that Jonathan looks at Evie like he can tell she instantly has a crush on him. Like, wait a minute.
Oh, you think so? I didn't notice.
Yes.
But... Okay.
I felt like there was a bit of a tease there.
Well, I guess, like, once they get on the boat, he's like, yes, definitely a scoundrel. Like,
right?
yes. So,
yeah,
okay.
so he's, like, kind of teasing her, because he knows.
Yeah. The warden shows up to protect his investment, he says.
Yes. So we have to bring Mr. Fez over here.
Yeah. Well, it's another person to be able to bring along. In reality,
What's his
it's
name? Do we know?
Oh, that's an excellent question, Rachel.
Because you are right. It is just another person to kill off, isn't it? That's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
More people
to
to murder.
It's another body. Yeah. Don't know if you ever hear this anywhere in the movie.
All right, I'm ready.
Warden God Hassan.
Potentially. The God part kind of sounds right. Like that Gad.
G-A-D Hassan, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever hearing that, but that's what it says.
I don't know. We'll have to... I don't know. Do you guys remember hearing it? Because I don't remember hearing it.
Folks
but...
at home, you can let us know if
like...
if your favorite character in The Mummy is Warden Gad Hassan. The Magi are shown in canoes heading toward the steamer boat at night. So some time has passed. They're like headed down the Nile. I can't remember. I think there's a couple of deleted scenes, and in one of the deleted scenes, Benny tells the Americans how long it's going to take. He tells them that it's like, but they don't want to reveal Benny yet, so it makes sense.
Right. It makes sense that they would hide that.
3 days or two to 3 days down the Nile, and then another 2 days by camel is what he says to get to Hamunaptra.
Gotcha.
It feels like it would be a hell of a trip to get there.
Sounds
from
like
Cairo.
a hell of a trip. Yeah.
Like 3,000 years ago would have taken some time.
Right. Exactly.
Jonathan is playing cards with some American treasure hunters now. So we find the other group that is trying to find Hamunaptra, and it's these 3 American cowboy type treasure hunter
absolute
guys.
Cowboys. Yes.
You want to describe these 3 guys, Rachel? I have descriptions of my own.
Well, then go ahead.
Okay. There is Glasses Man.
Yes.
We do find out is Mr. Burns.
There's a specific reason for
Or
Glasses
Barnes.
Man.
Yes, but
I
there's
think it's
Glasses
Barnes,
Man.
Isn't it?
Barnes. I think you're right. It's Mr. Barnes. Bucky's uncle, I think. So there's Mr. Barnes. There is Blonde Guy.
Yes, blonde, like flippy blonde hair.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then there is Jeremy Piven.
No, I liked your descriptions. That's good. Very good.
It's Mr. Henderson is Stephen Dunham.
Okay.
Tuck Watkins is Mr. Oh, this does say Mr. Burns. I thought it was Barnes too, though.
I thought it was
IMDb
Barnes.
says
Maybe,
Mr. Burns.
you know what? I wonder if it's just the accent. When she says Barnes. It's
yeah,
Barnes.
maybe. And then the one that I am callously calling Jeremy Piven, Rachel, is actually becoming a 2-timer on Shelf Life because it's our friend from that owned the internet on Doctor Who.
That's right. That's right.
Henry Van Staten.
Which is weird, but it's true. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
He went from that to this and then got, eaten by a mummy. It's great.
It's true. He figured out how to go back and he used the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Went back in time to try to get more treasure. This is
he
where he found.
left.
This is where he found the
in,
Dalek.
Connecticut or something, and then
And so something with an S or a T. I don't fucking remember.
Some letter.
O'Connell comes by, and the Americans are like, "Hey, you want to play some cards with us? We could always use another one." And Rick says, "I like this line. I only gamble with my life, never my money." That's what he says.
It's fair.
And Jonathan gave away that they're trying to find Hamunaptra too because Jeremy Piven says that, or Henry Van Staten, whatever you want to call this guy, bets him $500 that they'll get to Hamunaptra before O'Connell and company get there. And so he says, "All right, we'll take that bet."
Well, it was part of that was also like, how do you know we're going to Hamunaptra?
Yes. Well, and Jonathan, of course, being Jonathan, he likes to talk.
Blabbermouth.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's
it's like a brag too. I think it's a bit of a brag.
It's a bit of a brag, and there's an Egyptologist with the Americans. He's like their guide almost, which is kind of cheating in my opinion. But this Egyptologist, Dr. Chamberlain, played by Jonathan Hyde, who you've seen in a bunch of things in the 90s.
Of course. I think I specifically pointed out that it's the guy from Jumanji.
Yeah. Yes, it's the dad.
It's the dad and the hunter.
Hunter from Jumanji. I think he's the butler in Richie Rich and some other stuff. That's probably true.
It's just when he does.
He's also the butler.
What does a woman know? He sounds like the guy from Jumanji. Yeah.
His voice is fantastic. He has a really good accent. And he's like, well, what makes you so sure? And O'Connell says, well, what makes you? They're like, well, we have somebody that's been there. And O'Connell immediately is trying to think, like, what does that mean? Like, as far as O'Connell knows, he's the only person that's survived being at Hamunaptra.
Right.
And Jonathan's about to say, like, well, what a coincidence. And O'Connell stops him from giving away that he's also been there. So they're also being led by somebody that's been to Hamunaptra. As a kid, I remember thinking, oh, he doesn't want people to know that he's been there? That's interesting. But that's not what it is. He just doesn't want to give away that he thinks that they'll win the bet.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's because I
think it's more connected to the bet.
I think it's more connected to the bet as well, because he was kind of open about the fact that he's been to Hamunaptra before with other people. But at the same time, he probably doesn't want them... He
told Jonathan and Evie right away.
Yes. So it's either, yes, I'm gonna let us win that bet and we can all split the money. He is kind of thinking, I don't really want them butting in and being a part of this too. He's like, I don't want to have to be in charge of them as well. Because I feel like that's what he would feel. Well, because that's kind of how he feels with the other ones. He's like, I have to take care of them. I'm in charge of them.
These Americans can take care of themselves. They're all cowboy. Woohoo!
They really are. They're gun-ho, yippee-ki-yay, like, let's go.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
They're great.
It gets even more ridiculous.
Evie is reading on the poop deck when Rick drops his bag in front of her and scares her. She's still angry about the kiss. He whips out his weaponry. And
Thank you for just pausing on that one. You know, he whips out his weaponry.
He does.
Pause for effect.
You have to. She's looking for the Book of Amun-Ra. Mm-hmm. And he's like, and the fact that it's made of gold, you don't really care about that. And she goes, you know your history. And he's like, I know my treasure.
Yeah, and she really is like, I don't really care that it's made of gold.
Yeah.
I just want to read it.
Yeah. Well, because according to her, it has all these incantations, spells, and things like that. So, like, I think
gives them more insight to everything going on there.
Yeah.
Of course, that would be interesting. I would find that kind of fascinating.
Yeah, as a historian and like what she is, like that makes sense. She's a librarian. She asks Rick why he kissed her again, and he's like, well, I don't know. It seemed I was about to be hung. It seemed like a good idea at the time. And she storms off all pissed off at him. It's a classic neg, right, Rachel? It's classic neg.
I think it kind of is. It feels that way. But it probably also was I'm getting hung. I'm just going to kiss this woman in front of me. So I don't think he's telling, like, a lie either.
No, I think he's just, that's just Rick.
Yeah. He's a bit blunt.
Yeah. He hears something, he finds Benny hiding. And
I love the Benny shadow.
There's a Benny shadow?
You didn't notice? You have never noticed the Benny shadow?
No, I did not. Not even on 4K could I notice the Benny shadow.
Before he, like, says anything to him, there's a shadow of Benny's head.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Right next to the box.
Yep,
yeah,
okay.
It's the fez and everything.
It's the fez, yeah, you can definitely identify. There's a lot of shadows in this movie.
They're very into shadows.
Come to think
very into shadows, yes.
Yeah. So he's about to strangle Benny, I think. And Benny's like, think of my children. And Rick's like, you don't have any children. And he goes, someday I might. It's fun.
He's such a weasel.
He anticipates that he's telling Benny, like, so what, you're going to just dump these Americans the second you get the chance and skedaddle with their money? And Benny's like, no, unfortunately the Americans are smart. They only pay me half now and half when the expedition's over.
I mean, you could at least get half and leave, but
that's what I would do. Yeah. Take the half and get out of there.
Tell him what to do and leave.
Yeah, I'm not going to Hamunaptra. Are you kidding me? It's called the City of the Dead.
Yes.
They laugh for a second, and then Rick tosses him overboard. I feel like that would condemn him to near death. Like, I get that they all end up jumping out in a couple of minutes. Yeah. There's got to be, like,
he kind of saved his life.
Shit in that.
Oh, I would imagine. Is this... Yeah, what
it's
are
the
in
Nile.
the Nile? Like, snakes?
At least snakes.
Like big old water snakes?
At the very least. I bet there's hippos
Some
in there.
scary. I was wondering, do you think there's hippos? Is this a Congo situation?
I think it's kind of a Congo situation. There's an
Wow.
animatronic hippo.
I love it.
There's
I kind of wish there was
definitely-
now.
There's definitely a talking gorilla on board that ship. You just don't see it.
Riding one of the horses.
Yeah, they had her on camelback. Rick sees wet footprints and gets worried. At the same time, Evie's in a nightie, thinking of the kiss and getting and distracting herself.
Yes.
And she's
she's all hot and bothered by it.
Yes, she is. With her big poofy lion hair.
I love her big poof hair.
She
I
has
love
like
it.
giant hair in this scene.
But it's so cute.
She's confronted by a magi with a claw hand, which we saw him putting the claw hand on earlier, asking for the map and the key. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about with the key, but the map is there.
I mean, this
And
was
he-
a good jump scare, though.
Oh, the guy
Yeah.
popping out?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is a jump scare, isn't it? Because he's like standing behind her in the mirror, right? Like she
Yes.
bends down. Yeah.
That's a jump scare. But yes, he does ask for everything, and she goes, well, there's a map. Here you go. And she has no idea what the key is, because she's like, ugh. There wasn't a key inside the puzzle box.
Rick comes in, and a shootout ensues, and then we get another action scene here on the ship. A lantern falls and starts the boat completely on fire. She goes
Yes.
back to get the map, and he's like, it's okay, I got it all up here. So he doesn't think they need the map. He knows how to get back to Hamunaptra.
Right.
The Magi sees the key, which is the thing that Jonathan found. He's calling the key. And Jonathan, I couldn't figure out when Jonathan gets a hold of it, because Jonathan goes to grab it, the Magi puts the claw on it, and then Jonathan shoves the Magi guy into the fire. So now
Yes.
there's a man on fire chasing Jonathan.
Correct.
So did Jonathan grab it after shoving the guy into the fire?
So
Because I thought the guy picked it up.
No, so
I, missed
he
it.
after he lights him on fire by accidentally running in there, because now the Magi are attacking everybody on the boat, right? That's when he goes to grab it. The claw goes down. The other guy goes to grab it, and I think it was a little later. No, when the guy starts to grapple him on the deck is when he pickpockets it, because that's kind of his thing. He loves to pickpocket. So I think
Yes.
he's grabbing it
Yeah.
again from the guy.
When he's on fire?
Later? I think so.
That's a hell of a pickpocket.
Or it was one of those, like, he went to grab it after he put the claw on it, the Magi, but Jonathan was too quick.
And that's what I wondered, too.
And I think it was either that
Okay.
second right there,
'Cause
or it's later.
You don't see him do it. You only see it when he flips it in his hand.
But that's the whole thing. Jonathan's
so
good
quick.
at sleight of hand.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right, that's fine. That's fair.
Yes.
That doesn't really come back to play.
Yes, it
Oh, no, it
does.
does. You're right, it does.
Yes, it does.
Okay, all right, you're right. You see, it's a good movie. Fight breaks out, everything's on fire, stuff's getting thrown overboard. There's a man on fire chasing Jonathan. Evie saves him again because Rick is trying to load a gun, and they're like getting closer and closer to him with the bullets, and then she like yanks
yes.
them away. I thought that felt very
Well, she
Indiana Jonesy, serial-esque. It's kind of cowboy movie going on too, because the
Oh my
Americans
God.
the Americans
Are
are just like
whooping it up.
pinned
They're having
behind barrels,
fun.
just shooting all these men. These people
Going,
are
"Woohoo!"
murdering indiscriminately left and right, pretty much throughout the entire movie. There is no care at all for any
God,
of these
no.
people.
Absolutely not.
Is it because they're all filthy Egyptians to these Americans, do you think?
I have no idea. Maybe that's like the idea is to just poke at the Americans a little bit. They're just so gun crazy, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, all the Americans very gun crazy.
Every
in this.
American has
Yeah.
a gun. Every single one. Mm-hmm.
I think only too. I think RFA might pick it up at the end, but that's about it. It really makes you think. It's really about this whole movie's really about gun control. Rick throws Evie overboard, and he asks her if she can swim, and she's like, if the occasion calls for it. think that comes back. Doesn't she say that at the end too about like firing a gun, or is that in the second one? I feel like they might
be the
do
second
that
one.
again. Okay.
Because in the second one they do a lot of callbacks.
Yeah. Oh, that's all the second movie is. The warden comes and is like, Rick O'Connell, what are we gonna do? And he's like, wait here, I'll go get help. And then the warden, like a moron, stands there for a moment and then figures out that he's supposed to hop over as well.
Yes.
Jonathan is about to get attacked by the fire magi again, but the blonde American shoots...
Blondie turns and saves him.
Fire magi and saves him, and he's like, oh, Americans. But then he's like, good shot, lads.
Right.
And jumps off himself. And then they all jump off the ship. And I guess they did get all the camels and horses off, too. That would have been a feat. How the hell do you get a camel off and a horse off a boat?
Well, they can swim.
You gotta shove them off the boat,
You
though?
do.
They're gonna freak out.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably freaking out more about the fire, though, is my guess. So maybe that's a little bit easier to get them off of the boat then.
Yeah, like maybe they're like, okay, I guess we have to.
It's one or the other.
Yeah. Because I could see them freaking out either way.
Right.
Benny has all the horses and men, and our heroes have now lost everything.
And they're on either side of the Nile.
How wide? Isn't the Nile really wide? Like, where are they at that they could, like, shout to each other across this river?
You know, I don't know. It's a good question.
I remember this because of the way that Brendan Fraser works his mouth.
Yes.
There's no other way to say that. He
No,
mouth
you're right.
acts.
You're right.
It's, hey, O'Connell, I've got all the horses, and Rick goes, hey, Benny, I think I'm on the right side of the river. And
yes.
And
he likes to show all his teeth, and it's very wide.
It's almost like he's trying to compete with Emotep, opening his mouth as wide as humanly possible.
It's true.
So they get a head start, and they walk to a bazaar somewhere, and they're negotiating for camels. Evie's decked out in Egyptian Arab garb, and now Rick thinks that she's hot. Yeah, it's like... I
think he thought she was pretty before, but now she's, like, dressed up, you know? So he just thinks, wow, you actually are really beautiful.
Now she's fancy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just the fanciness. It's like that allure, you know? Only her eyes are showing.
Yes, exactly, yes. You can't really see her, yeah. They trek through the desert on camelback, and we get a montage of their traveling to give us the scope of how much it's taking. I think it would have been quite hard to do this in the desert, to go on camelback and get all the way there with people that aren't experienced at it, like Rick is, and the warden might be. Well, I guess actually Jonathan is a digger too, so it really is just Evie that doesn't have, like, the field experience.
Yes, she's the only one who's not really the adventurer in the group.
The Magi see them getting close, and I guess they recognize Rick, because Ardith Bay is like, this one is strong, or something like that. And then they're all sleeping on their camels, except for Rick, and I was like,
oh my god, how do you do that?
Can you sleep straight up?
How do you
right
do
like that?
The
on
man
a camel?
Like, it's like snoring back there.
I could
and
not
I'm just
imagine being able to sleep like that.
There is no way. Like, if anything, I'd be folded over onto, like, the hump. I'd be folded over.
Yeah, you'd be, like, hunched down
also
on the hump
holding
or
on for dear life the entire time. I have ridden a camel.
You have ridden a camel.
I have a couple of times. And
you were quite young, I think, though.
I also rode one, like, 5 years ago. But, like...
Did you?
Yes, I did. They bounce back and forth. I feel like it's worse than a horse. Like, they really just do not care that you're on them. Like,
the camel doesn't?
Well, it's like one of those, I'm not gonna be nice about this.
Well,
like,
camels
it's just
aren't
gonna be
nice.
like boom, boom, boom. They aren't. So it's just, like, kind of funny. So I would just, sleeping on that, I don't know. Know. You'd have to be strapped in.
Unless they get into a rhythm, and then you get, like, the baby bounce.
It, like, lulls you to sleep.
Yeah.
All right, fair.
That's
that
possible.
Could be it, yeah.
There is a deleted scene that I kind of wish that they would have kept in, because I don't think it really would have affected the pacing or anything, where, as part of this montage, they walk through a piece of the desert that is littered with skeletons. Mm-hmm. And it's like we're getting closer because, like, we're seeing all of, like, the remnants of like people that have tried to get to Hamunaptra and
that would
failed.
be kind of fun. That would be kind of fun.
It just makes it
have kept.
spooky. Which, like, you've already been to Hamunaptra, I guess, so, like, you already know what it is. In that sense of it, you'd have to cut out the scene with Rick at the beginning. So maybe you don't want to do that. But at the same time, I could see a cut of this where, like, you don't see Rick until the prison. Mm-hmm. And, like, that could have been a way to go, too.
Right. No, I agree.
They arrive at the same time as the Americans to some spot, and they all just stop in this place. And they're all like, well, what are we waiting for? Rick says that the sun was going to show him the way. The sun mirages the city to be shown.
Yeah, that is so interesting.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Rachel, is this supposed to be some sort of mystical thing, or is this scientific of some kind? Or is it supposed to be scientific of some kind?
I think it might be part of the magic of the place. I think it's more so someone put, like, some sort of
spell,
hidden... some sort of spell that, like, hides it, like a ward
Hermione
or
came
something.
by and put that, whatever.
The little, like, some sort of shield up around it so it can only be seen when the light touches it a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's, like, the only way you can get inside, maybe.
I'm
thinking it's more mystical than scientific.
It's a fun little trick, because it's like, oh yeah, it is like the city of gold. Like, you can't see it. And we go to, like, each one of the Americans saying, like, oh my god, and that kind of thing. And we get the cliched line from Rick. It's a, here we go again.
I didn't even realize that.
Yep, he says it.
Oh my god.
Here we go again. Again. And a race ensues. Rick knocks Benny off the camel. Benny gets fucked up in this movie. He's, like, always about to die.
He really is, though.
You want to talk about Touch of Destiny. Evie gets there first, so Evie wins the race. I don't even know what she's doing. She's almost, like, doing, like, polo stuff with this camel.
Or, like, eat. Like, she's, like,
she's
yelling
eating
at it.
this camel. That's right.
That's what it sounded like. Like, tut, 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 eat, is what it sounded like what she was saying.
That's what she's saying, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
The Americans have a whole camp with slave workers and everything. And this is where we get one of Rachel's favorite lines of all time. Our group is on the complete other side of the city. I think they're going by the statue of Anubis. Mm-hmm. And they know that they're supposed to be by one of them to, like, find the... Oh, no, they are by Anubis. Because they think that's where the Book of Amun-Ra is. And the Americans are like, do they know something we don't?
Yes.
And then Rachel?
They're led by a woman. What does a woman know?
Do they know something we don't? They're led by a woman. What does a woman know?
What does a woman know? And of course that cuts to Evie knowing absolutely everything about everything.
Correct. She's incredibly smart when it comes to this stuff. She studied it her whole life.
Rick even got Evie some tools because she lost them on the boat.
Yes, he got her the tools. Yes.
He borrowed them from their American friends. So they make a hole to get into the room, which turns out to be this crypt room. And Evie does the mirror trick from Indiana Jones, which lights up the entire
Let there be light.
Crypt. Yeah. Which I like I do like that trick. I do like that was like a thing. It's very innovative.
It's very cool. They're lucky that not any of them moved besides the first one.
That's true. They would have had to go through and like start like adjusting them. In reality, they would have spent hours adjusting the mirrors.
Probably dusting them off, cleaning it so it actually would reflect nicely.
Yeah, because they're cleaning it. They're cleaning the one they brought with, so that they could do it. They hear bugs somewhere, and the warden declares that he hates bugs because you got to set that up.
I hate bugs too sometimes. You know.
Does anybody like bugs?
I mean, yes, there are people who love bugs. Yes. I guess it depends on the bug, because I like bees.
Sickos.
Butterflies are pretty.
Bees have an ecological purpose, though. If I see spider webs in my house, if it's not in a place where I think I'm going to be sitting or laying, I let it stay. You know why?
Fine.
Because they get rid of the fucking bugs.
That's right. They get rid of worse things.
Yeah, they can cohabitate with me because they know their place. And as long as they know their place, I'm fine with them.
That's fine. You stay over there, I stay over here, don't let me see you.
They get to the legs of Anubis, looking for some sort of compartment where they think that the book is going to be. And they hear voices again. And you think it's like the Mummy, because that's what you're anticipating it to be. They turn a corner and it's the Americans.
Yes.
And as they're doing this standoff with all their guns pointed at each other...
Absolutely.
Jonathan does have a gun point.
Jonathan does have a little pistol.
Yeah.
Yes.
Evie notices that there's a crack in the floor and that there must be a lower floor. So she tells Rick that they can go dig somewhere else and stops the situation so that they can go to this lower floor. How they got there, I have no idea, but they must have walked around or dug or something somewhere else. So they've, like, found this, like, lower floor of Hamunaptra.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're saying we're going to come up between the legs of Anubis and we're going to steal the book right out from under them. They keep saying, like, these beastly Americans, no offense to Rick. I like that part.
Yes. I thought that was funny.
Meanwhile, the warden is off searching by himself. Would you do that in these freaking crypts? You would just walk around?
I think he got bored because he wasn't going to help. So
Yeah,
if he found any treasure on his own, he was just going to keep it. You know, that's what he was doing.
But, like, you're walking around, like, I'd be terrified to walk in, like, these little hallways
I
and
would
stuff.
be too. I
get that it's
horrified.
Egyptian architecture and that it's, like,
It's gotta be
pretty
gorgeous.
damn
It's gotta be
sturdy.
so cool.
But still.
But there's all these booby traps and stuff in there too.
Yes.
I would be so afraid.
Speaking
it's gonna crush me or lock me in somewhere. Or I'm gonna get stabbed with something.
Yeah,
like
or you're
no.
gonna get stuck. Yeah, or a scorpion is gonna be there.
Like no, I'm good. Oh yeah, scorpions. I am so surprised there were no scorpions.
No
in this
scorpions
movie.
in this movie.
Like none.
They saved it for the second one.
They really did. But like scorpions would be scary. They'd be in your boots. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Speaking of booby traps, the warden finds a wall with blue beetle things on it, which look like the scarabs. So he starts picking those off.
Yes,
because they look like jewelry of some kind.
Yes, they look like jeweled beetles almost. Yeah, and it's all attached to the wall with a figure of a man who looks like he's yelling and screaming with his arms up in the air.
Yes, which I think is supposed to be the clue that these things are eating him.
Eating him.
Yeah. But the warden doesn't get it.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
And he's like, but jewels.
He's a boo. He's
But
pretty
money.
much a boo.
He is. You go into this place and he goes, ooh, shiny, and then takes it. And it's like, you don't touch it.
Or
You
whatever,
touch nothing but the lamp, all right?
Yeah. Yes,
Later,
thank
when
you.
we get the really gold room, that's also a room of you touch nothing but the lamp.
Yeah, that's when Jonathan becomes a boo.
It does.
So the Americans are about to bust open this, like, compartment by Anubis, and the Egyptologist stops him and says, Seti was no fool. Have the workers do it. So he has the workers do it, which the Theater!
Yeah, he's like screaming at these guys, and it's like, what is that going to do? What is screaming at them going to do? They're already opening
They're gonna work
it for
harder. You never been at work and your boss just yells at you to work harder, and you do?
Yeah, it just makes me angrier, honestly.
That's how it works. So they go to open the crypt, and acid burns the workers. So of course there's booby traps because they booby trapped the thing to kill whoever would have opened it.
Right, because they don't want you to take it. It's supposed to be there to be hidden.
Rick is learning about mummification. John is playing golf. And he hits a rock into the ceiling, and that knocks the sarcophagus out, because they've already, like, loosened it up and stuff.
Right.
The score drops...
Luckily it didn't fall on anybody, because that would have...
That is true. That would have ended the movie.
murdered them.
Yeah, because this is a big-ass, heavy sarcophagus.
Yup.
The score drops, and we get a... Boom, boom.
Yes.
Oh, Imhotep's sarcophagus has been discovered. She
That's right.
finds this whole thing very odd, because she's like, a sarcophagus buried at the base of Anubis? Mm-hmm. Which means that he was either someone of great importance, or he did something very naughty.
Yes. Well, because I'm assuming because it's like Anubis is watching over you, because Anubis,
Yeah.
you're not going to get away from him.
You can't get away from the god, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The warden pops another scarab, drops a scarab, and it pops out of its shell, and digs into his shoe, and then goes into its foot, and then it weaves its way through this guy's skin / body / organs up to his brain, and kind of gives him a brain aneurysm and murders him. I think.
Well,
I
it's
guess
like
it's a fitting
crawling
end for the weird
through
fat
you.
dude. Didn't it seem a little overly cruel?
But I think that's what they do. It's just what they do.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, for this guy, like, yeah, he was, like,
It's a little cruel,
slimy.
yeah, but it's also just kind of like an interesting death. At least you had
Yeah.
an interesting death, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's not even dead yet. It's just crawling into his skin.
Well, he runs out, and they hear him, like, screaming, and then they see him, like, running down the hall, and,
yes.
he
He
runs
bashes
into a
his
wall.
head into a wall.
Yeah.
So was it the scarab or then the wall that killed him?
Well, yeah,
I would
you're right.
assume
It's
the
a combination.
scarab.
The scarab was going to kill him either way.
Yeah.
I wonder if they could make that effect look better now of the scarab under the skin.
Crawling? Oh, probably.
Because it
I
looks
hate
like
it
they
still.
just kind of, like, modified the, like, they almost just, like, bubbled up the skin in, like, a
Right.
frame.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they could have made that look better. Like, it looks fine. It gets the point across. It
I think
looks
just textures
uncomfortable.
and shading would just make
Yeah.
it look better nowadays. It just looks, it's gross. It's gross. I still wouldn't want it to happen to me.
They're looking back at the crypt, and Rick asks, "Who is it?" And Evie's like, "It says he who shall not
You
be
shall not be
named."
named.
So they found Voldemort.
They found Voldemort. It makes more sense now. He
Then
stole this from them.
Dumbledore was a magi.
Huh. Now that's an interesting take on it.
Harry, we need to get to Cairo. To Hamunaptra. There's another Horcrux. Hamunaptra. That would have actually made more sense in Harry Potter if Voldemort
Yes.
was like, I put a Horcrux in Hamunaptra.
He put them on like these really cool places around the world. Yes.
That would have been pretty awesome, actually.
Yes.
He's saying it's going to take forever. It's going to take like a month to crack this thing open because it's like solid, the sarcophagus. And Evie's like, oh, wait. So they pop that open. But before they can open it, this is when the warden comes out. So they aren't able to do that. And then they decide to, like, let's call it a day. So...
Well, because now this guy just died in front of them.
Yeah. Like,
I kind of would have done it, too.
We can call it a day. So they're sitting at their camp, and the wind blows again at the mention of the word curse, because it's supposed to be
Curse.
a funny movie, yes.
Well, I mean, at the same time, though, you are on the grounds of a place where black magic was constantly used, right? A constant, like...
I don't know if but you have to believe in that.
Okay, look, I'm just saying...
It's a Native American burial ground and an Egyptian curse site. Rachel's looking at me all pissed off.
Kevin,
You can't
the
see her
mummy
face.
comes back to life.
Yes, he does.
There is some magic crap happening in this movie. So my guess is, like, yes, you mentioned, like, curses, you mentioned Imhotep, Hamunaptra,
Terrible curse.
any of the pieces, they're like, the gods and stuff are targeting people at that point.
Yeah.
Because nobody's supposed to come back from here. People die here. Well, how? Magic.
Because it's in such terrible terrain.
That too, but magic.
But really, it's magic. Again, Dumbledore was a magi. So, I want hashtag Dumbledore was a magi. Let's get that going. You could get that on a shirt.
Oh my god.
No one will know what the fuck we're talking about. It just says Dumbledore was a magi. Shelf life. Add it to your list.
Is Voldemort just also dressed up as like a mummy?
Yes. He is kind of dressed up like
He
Imhotep.
looks like a mummy anyways. Yes, he does. He looks like he's dressed as Imhotep at some point.
Kind of is. He sort of is. You put some of those tattoos on Dumbledore, he could be a magi. Snape could be a magi.
Oh, Snape could definitely be a magi.
Sirius, Black, magi.
Another one. I like it. I like it.
We're finding hidden magis all over the place. Her thing is that none of this, the wind blowing around and all that stuff, is just a bunch of flim-flam hooey.
Right.
So, as
The
much as
acid
you're
and
saying...
stuff, that's more, an actual...
That's just booby
like,
traps,
booby
yeah.
trap.
Yeah, which are real, right? Like, there are booby traps and stuff in some of those
Yes.
things, I would think.
Yes, no, there are.
I assume, like, a lot of the stuff that's come out over the last century is, like, a lot of old wives' tales.
Yeah,
But I
possibly.
still think that some of it is, like, really there to protect the crypts and
Oh,
things like that.
absolutely.
They really did have stuff like that.
Yes, because, I mean, you gotta think about how much riches they put with the people that they were burying in those.
Right.
They didn't
They're
want people
protecting
stealing
the
stuff.
treasures.
Yes.
Yeah. You gotta protect the
They
graves.
needed to go with them to the afterlife. That was the whole point.
John looks through the bag. He's making fun of his stench the entire time.
Oh, yeah. And he must smell like just B.O. Like
Yeah,
they
I mean,
all
you're a
probably
big-
do.
They all smell. Yes.
Oh,
Every single person in
absolutely.
this movie might be hot, but they all smell like ass.
Oh, God, yes.
Just straight up ass.
Sweat and
sweat sand ass.
Yes, sweaty sand
ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweaty sand ass. I mean, you're that big of a guy, and you live in a temperature that's like 100 degrees constantly.
Yep.
You stink, and it's 1920s. You stink.
You stink even worse. Yeah.
He finds a broken bottle of booze in the bag.
They make it seem like a scare, like.
Yeah, it's a
bit
fake
at
out scare because like it's a broken bottle.
Right.
They're all gonna like drink this bottle of booze, and then the Magi attack again. They just slice up these poor like workers.
Yes.
These guys making like a quarter a day.
Yes.
Are getting just sliced to hell.
Oh, absolutely.
They set fire to the American camp. They just kill so recklessly in this movie.
I mean, they
just,
really
like, shooting
do.
People back and forth. The Magi are getting killed. The workers are getting killed. None of our main characters or secondary characters are getting killed.
Of course not. Why would they? They can't.
Well, it is an adventure, so,
Right.
you know, they got a little plot armor.
They have I was going to say, the plot armor is very strong.
Yeah, the plot armor is strong with this one. O'Connell gets shouted a lot in this movie.
Yes, it does.
You don't
No, it
think
really
about
does.
it, but you could do a drinking game to the amount of times somebody says, or not even says, just shouts O'Connell.
Yes.
You could still have a drinking game.
I think
for
you
that.
could. You'd have a few shots at least.
Mm-hmm. So that's getting shouted. Odette Fair and Rick fight.
Yes.
And Rick is not as good of a fighter as Ardith Bay, so he pulls out a stick of dynamite.
And he threatens him
I
with
think
it.
it is a stick of dynamite,
Yes,
right?
it
Like, that's
is.
the idea, or is it like some sort of incendiary device?
No,
But
I'm
I
pretty
assume
sure
it's
that's.
dynamite.
I'm pretty sure boom would happen after that one actually blows. Absolutely.
Ardith Bay is like, okay. You know what? Let's call it a day. We have a lot of tension going on. I understand. Here's what we'll say. We won't kill you if you leave by tomorrow.
Right.
Deal? Great. So again, the Magi not doing their job.
Right.
Because not like it's not even bad that they've gotten. They
didn't go, what did
Hamunaptra.
you find? Because you've already been inside. We know you have
Yes.
been. We've just been sitting here watching you.
Maybe explain
The
something
situation.
to these people, and maybe at the very least you can say the place is cursed. At the very least, do not wake up any mummies from the dead. I repeat, do not go around chopping zombies' heads off left and right.
But I mean, it's one of those weird things where it's just like, of course, it's part of the plot, so of course they're not going to actually explain themselves. And I guess
Right.
they don't want to explain it, and plus, like, who's going to actually believe it? Is like she said, I don't believe in curses. Like, okay, yeah, sure, we're going to raise the dead. Okay.
Well, the Americans take it as a sign that means that the treasure's
With
definitely
yes,
there.
they think,
Because
oh,
they
they're
think
just
that
they're just protecting
the
it.
treasure. Yeah.
Exactly.
And Rick's like, no, these people value water. They don't care about gold. Like, what are they? They don't. What are they going to do with the riches of Egypt? Like,
It's
they
like-
don't give a shit.
Yes, it's like the Spice Planet. They like they value their spices. You know,
Yes.
Just saying.
Yes. Got to bring it back.
I gotta bring it back again.
Yeah. Evie gets drunk and is being taught how to punch by Rick. He doesn't get Evie. This conversation doesn't really give you a better idea of... Okay, so she says, I know what you're thinking. What is a place like me doing in a girl like this? And she plays good, like, ditzy drunk, I suppose.
Yes.
Like, it is a little over the top, but, like, it's Evie, so you
But
could
it's
see her
fun.
being like this, yeah.
Yes.
Her father was a famous explorer.
Mm-hmm.
He loved Egypt so much that he married an Egyptian.
Yes.
I don't know if that's, you know...
Well, I think she was also an adventurer, though. Remember, she
The
says...
mother was?
Yeah, that's what she goes on to say, is that they're
Oh,
both
okay.
adventurers. So that's
Okay.
why they married, like...
Yeah, that's
So,
fair.
so I don't think it was a weird thing. I don't think what you're
Where he,
getting
like, had
at...
a little... Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's that. I think...
I
I'm
need
gonna
to
say-
marry Egypt.
I'm gonna
yes.
put up and up here. She's actually
Yeah.
like an Egyptian explorer, and he's an American explorer or a British explorer or whatever, a British explorer. And
His genes must have been pretty strong, because I don't see much Egyptian coming through in Jonathan or Evie. But that's fine. You can do that. It's not like that. It's not like it's a big deal.
I mean, like, yeah, they're very white British people. Yes.
Yes.
But I mean, I guess you could kind of like go, oh, well, maybe with like the face shape or the nose or whatever. But
Sure. She says that, well,
that
she
happens
might
all the
not-
time.
Yeah, it happens all the time. And Rick says that doesn't understand her. And she does a speech about, well, I might not be an explorer, but I am proud of what I am.
Yes.
And Rick's like, and what is that? And she says,
I am a librarian.
I am a librarian.
That line has been uttered by Rachel from Shelf Life for 25 years. I don't know why you've always said that. I don't even know what the context is of you bringing that line up, but you have always done the
I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
Well, it's because of the drunken way that she says it, and because she's so proud of saying it.
Yes, I love her.
And I think it is one of those things where she's trying to find pride in it, and she wants to be the explorer and the adventurer.
Oh, absolutely.
But she's like, right now I'm just a librarian, but I'm still damn good at it.
That's right.
She says that she's gonna kiss Rick, but she falls over, passed out.
In his crotch.
In his crotch, yes. The Americans take out a box that they were able to get open.
Yeah, now it's the next day.
It's the next day. They read it, and there's a curse on the chest. And when they read that there's a curse upon this chest, the wind comes in the crypt again, and all the workers run out. And you would think, I would think, why did the wind blow when we're, like, underground?
This is what I was saying. When it's windy underground, you don't start talking and you don't start reading shit, all right? This is
Windy
not how this
Underground would be a
works.
good name for an alternative rock band. The Egyptologist reads over the rest of the thing and says that there's one who must consummate this curse. Kill all who open the chest and assimilate their organs and regenerate. It's very poor, it's like a
Oh, yeah.
in that.
Oh, sure.
As he says this, Benny runs out because he's like, beware the curse, and he doesn't want to have anything
he's
to
like,
do.
I am out of here. Absolutely.
Meanwhile, Evie and company open up the crypt via using the lock, and we get a jump scare again. It's this jump scare Emotep.
Well, here's the thing. So I also thought this was weird. So they push it up against the wall. Why do they stand it up? I find it very odd that they stand up the sarcophagus.
Yeah, now that you say that, that's a good question. I think it's just because that's what happened to the 1932
Oh, I'd
movie.
assume. But at the same time,
That
it was
he's
just
standing
so
up
weird.
when it's open.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point. Why would you not have it on the ground?
Just lay
to
it
open
there and, like, plop it open. Like,
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, that makes it even weirder when she says she hates it when they do that. Because it's like, okay, how many are you opening that they do that all the time?
Yes. I don't know if it's just a callback to when Jonathan, like, made a jump scare to her.
It is, but the line, now that I'm thinking about it, makes
It's
absolutely no
weird.
sense.
It's, because she's like, oh my god, they do this all the time. They're always just popping out of the sarcophaguses whenever we're opening them. Why?
Line doesn't make any sense.
Why?
Line doesn't make any sense. Instead, inside is Emotep, a juicy mummy.
Oh, very juicy.
Oh, he is so fucking juicy.
No.
There's fingernails on the inside of the crypt, and inside he's inscripted, "Death is only the beginning," which Rachel knows, of course, from the ride, mostly.
Death is only the beginning!
It's one of the best parts, but it's not the only reason I would know that. I watched the movie before the ride.
They opened the box, and wrapped up inside the box, I don't know why they would have put it in the same spot as the canopic jars, come to think of it. They should have spread this out a little bit better, but
It is kind of weird. It is kind of...
Yeah.
Oh, no, you know what I think it is, actually? I think somebody hid the canopic jars inside of that box. I don't think they were supposed to be there, but I have a feeling one of the priests, whoever was able to, like... Who was, like, on his side but didn't get killed... Maybe they hid it inside of that box because it's like a hidden compartment at the bottom of the box.
It is a hidden compartment, yeah.
So I think
it's an interesting
he hid
fan
it.
theory.
Yeah, so I think he hid it. They hid the canopic jars because they're on Oxydamoons, in
Right.
with the book that's going to bring her back to life.
Resurrector.
Yes.
Yeah. Wrapped up is the Book of the Dead, and the Americans are mad that it isn't treasure. The Egyptologist understands how important the fact that the Book of the Dead has been found is, but they don't care.
Right.
And then they see the jars. The scholar can't open the book, and Evie walks by and realizes that it's got the same lock insertion that
Yes.
the sarcophagus
As he
did.
who
So
must not
she's
be named. Right.
yes, as Voldemort's crypt did.
Correct.
And she did find inside the crypt scarab skeletons, and she realizes that they must have been put in and they ate him alive, and then they're trying to figure out what he did, and Rick is like, probably got too frisky with the Pharaoh's daughter, and it's like, it's
Very
not too
close.
far off.
Very
yeah,
close.
pretty close. I think the regicide put him over the top. I think that's what got him the hum die.
Oh, I would assume.
So this is where she realizes that the curse that they put on the crypt, like based on what she can understand from the hieroglyphics, is that they used the hum die, and they feared the curse so much. And again, I'm going, why did you do this? Why did you put this curse on him?
He was the highest blasphemer. That is why. You had to do this with the highest blasphemer. That's what she says. But they never wanted to, and then this finally happened, and they're like, all right, you're the one. This is it. You're the one who has to...
We've been waiting. We've been waiting for 2,000 years, and we finally found this sucker who's going to get the hum die. Hey, Benny! We got the hum die over here. Get the scarabs. Go get Will. He's got the scarabs. You're going to get Willie's scarabs. He's been waiting his whole life to throw these scarabs on somebody. She steals the book from the Egyptologist, which I would like to think is a Bembridge scholar. Like in my headcanon, like he is a Bembridge scholar.
Absolutely.
She opens it up, and we get another line that will always be kind of part of the zeitgeist of the movie, where she says, "No harm ever came from reading a book," and she starts reading it. The
Out
wind
loud.
blows again when they open it up, and then she starts reading it.
Pay attention
like
to your
I said-
surroundings, people. Anytime the wind blows
Yeah.
like that, something's weird's happening.
Yeah,
Stop
Ra's
what
al
you're doing.
Ghul.
Think
Ra's
about
al
it.
Ghul would have taught them pay attention to your surroundings, and they
That's
just don't
right.
do that.
That's right.
There's no Batman within this group, I'll tell you that. Yatue, Yatue, Yatue.
Ah, Mummy
Yeah.
is awake.
Mummy wakes up. Mummy does mummy scream. I like the noise of the mummy scream
Yeah.
in this. That's a fun, like...
Oh, it's a great yell. It
Yeah.
also kind of feels like he was already yelling before he awoke. Like he was yelling in his like eternal
yes,
death, and he
yes.
like was like
'Cause the
jarred
way his
into
jaw
it.
falls.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Hello? Are you planning to have mummies in your mummy movie? Hello? But we finally
It's
have
right
the mummy.
there. Mummy.
I don't mind that, though. I like the build-up to
Oh, I
it.
love the
Although I was
build-up.
like, oh, it does take a while to get to the mummy in this movie.
But you don't kind of. I mean, it feels like it's moving. It always feels like it's moving. The movie.
The pace is fine. Yeah, I don't
it
have a
never
problem
feels
with
like
pace
it's
at all.
like, all right, what's going on? It's like it's
Yeah,
dragging.
really
it
never.
feels like that.
Yeah.
They're always hopping to another place, doing something new.
No, I agree.
The Magi come and attack. Oh, something goes wrong. Oh, Magi attacks. Something goes wrong.
The scholar wakes up and he says, "Do not read from the book." I like that.
Do not
but
read
does
from
that
the book.
But does that mean he knew what would happen? Like, he knew something bad could happen from the book.
I think because of the curse
Why?
stuff, potentially. Because he knows that the Book of the Dead also has, like, spells in it. So if you just start
Right.
reading from it, you don't know what could
You don't
happen.
know what's gonna happen.
And he 100% believes in the curses. I feel like.
I don't know, because he didn't mind taking the jars or
Because
giving those...
because he didn't think they were going to wake up the mummy. He goes, we can
Sure.
take the jars, we can take the book.
If they just take the book and the jars, then who cares? Yeah.
Right. But you start
I would
reading from
not-
the book and Hamunaptra, here comes the mummy. Oh, great,
I
now
guess
we're screwed.
I guess he should have asked Evie what did they really find when they found Emotep. Like, they should have let him
but none of
examine
them
it.
but none of them are discussing things together, and he doesn't trust women, so why the hell does he care? He doesn't think she found anything.
You're right. This is a bit of a critique about misogyny.
It is.
Because if he could have showed her the book and like back
if they
and
would have
forth,
like actually had a
they
discussion
wouldn't have
and
done
conversation,
it. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But like it was like through the grapevine they heard that the workers got misted with the acid.
Well, Rick was talking to the Americans.
Yeah, but that's like it's the American. Those are like the tag-alongs,
Yeah, the Americans knew that they found a sarcophagus.
Oh, that's
They knew
true.
they found him.
That's fair.
But as the Egyptologist says, this locusts come and invade the camp. Just these pain in the ass, fucking obnoxious, loud, damn things
And
that
they
take
eat
over the
all
whole
the plants.
fucking place. They're just awful.
They destroy the plants. That's the whole point.
That was the point of the
The locust
Plague.
plague. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Couldn't think of the word. The Egyptologist gets another cliche line in by going, "What have we done?"
Oh, of
While
course.
he's covered in locusts. Because you gotta do it. You're making the mummy. They go into the crypt to try to get away from the locusts. Just stay outside. Just cover yourself in a tarp or something.
Like the other one who just kind of sat there like, whatever. They're all over me, but it should be fine.
Glass is American. Velma's his glasses. My
absolutely.
glasses.
Yes.
As they stumble into each other. And then Benny, because he's a dick, well, he accidentally steps on them, but then he still runs away and leaves Burns there.
Yeah.
So blinded and in a scary hallway, he can't tell what's going on. We get some of this blurry cam so that we see it from Burns' perspective.
So if that is his blur, right? Just run to the light. You know your friends are that way. Just keep running that way.
I agree.
Like, why would you have slowed down so much to the point where he feels like he can't even, like, walk? Like, all of a sudden he can't use his feet because he can't see? I have horrible eyesight, all right?
Well, I think it's
I
because
understand
he's
this,
scared,
and I'm like...
I
guess, but he doesn't get scared of, like, this weird creature that's following him until it actually, like, shows up. He should just continuously be moving.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just my opinion. It's just my opinion. But yes, then we have a shadow creature start, like...
Yeah, they
whooshing.
do this. They do this like
behind
Jurassic
him.
Park takedown with the whooshing behind him, and then he like screams and stuff.
And then you see like the shadow go across and the blur and.
I thought they could have made it if they wanted to. I don't think they wanted to. I think they wanted to make it more tongue in cheek in the horror because they could have made this scarier.
Oh, it could have been horrifyingly scary. Yes, it gets to a point with the scariness. But it doesn't try to push it. It doesn't want it to be as scary as it could be, I think.
Yes. Scarabs burst from the ground and chase down our heroes, and they jump out of the way. And as they jump out of the way, does one of the workers get eaten alive at this point? I can't remember if that's now or later on. I think it's maybe this one, but I can't remember.
I think it's later.
Okay. Evie gets pushed into a hidden wall. And she comes out on the other side, and it's the hallway where Glasses guy is. And now he's standing there, and he turns around, and he reveals that he has no eyes.
Or tongue.
Or tongue. It's not a great effect. It's actually hard to tell.
It's kind of hard to tell. It almost looks like he got, like, pink eye, and it's just crusted over.
Yeah, I thought he just had his eyes closed for a while. Like, before the 4K, for sure, I was like... Did they just tell him to close his eyes? Because it should have been more hollow, and that might have looked. I think they should have been
darker. Yeah,
it should have looked like a Michael Myers mask almost.
Yes.
Like that would have looked scarier. It would have looked genuinely frightening.
Yes, but instead it was very fleshy toned and brighter, so it was hard to tell that they were actually like hollowed out eyes.
Yeah, and they probably were like, "Oh no, this is more." Anatomically correct or whatever, and it's like, yes, that's probably true, but you can't tell what's going on. There's a mummy with eyes now, and he stalks down Evie, and I realized at this point that, this is all just Evie and Rick's fault, because if they wouldn't have said the stupid crap, none of this would have happened.
Yes, because that's what he says too.
Yeah, this whole movie is just Evie and Rick's fault.
Yes.
He calls her a Noxunamun. And before anything else can happen, the Americans come running, and they see... Oh, this is when the worker gets eaten by scarabs.
Mm-hmm.
the mummy shouts at them, and Rick shouts back and shoots him, because of course he does.
Of course.
But
yeah, it's a lot of like rah, and then rah, and then shoots.
And then he shoots.
Yeah.
Question about the shouting of the mummy. Why does he do that? Because it's not like he's... Is he doing that to intimidate, knowing he's like a monster? Like, he's... It's kind of... Because, like, if I came back from the dead, I wouldn't be just me, like, roar to everything, right?
I'm wondering if it's just a guttural thing. It's just something that he's doing because of his state of being? Because he doesn't really... Does he do it later? Like, when he's, like, more
he
human?
He separates his jaw at the end when he's gonna, like, kill Rick.
Yeah.
He does that, like, whoa.
But that's a part of his powers. So maybe that's a part of, like, the guttural growl and roar that he does, too. Because he's given powers when he comes back, and he's immortal.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, maybe.
But it's like a real gross undead immortal? Yeah.
The Magi are there. They leave the crypt, and the Magi are there. Ardeth Bay is like, you may have just killed us all. And the Magi are like, we have to find a way to kill him. And Rick's like, I got him. I shot him in the chest. Maybe. I don't even know where I shot him, but I shot him. It's fine. He's basically a great white shark. He gives him the Jaws, the Hooper from Jaws speech, where he's like, these things are an evolutionary marvel. All they do is they eat, they sleep, and they make baby mummies. And that's it.
He wants to make baby mummies. That's like his whole
end goal. He does want to make some baby mummies.
All he wants is an Oxuna Moon and some baby mummies. That's his end game.
He wants to take over the world at this point. Like
because that's like forced upon him to take over the world. I feel like he
I gotta take over the damn world.
I mean,
thanks
honestly,
a lot, Magi.
Don't you think he just wants to bring a Noxuna Moon back and then go live in harmony with her? He's just like, I just want my girl. I just want her.
You don't think that this was part of the regicide plan, was to become Pharaoh?
Oh.
You don't think that he was gonna...
You think so?
Kill?
You don't think... I mean, I guess potentially. I
don't think he's turning down the opportunity.
I don't think he would turn it down. No.
To take over the world.
No, absolutely not. No. I'm just saying. He just wants his girl.
Just let him have her. What if they did? What if they were just like, fine, take a Noxuna Moon. Find a different...
woman?
Human victim. There's gonna be some street rat that you can take. And then, Imhotep, take a Noxuna Moon. You guys just go to Bali or wherever. It doesn't matter.
Be immortal together.
Yeah, we don't care. Just stay wherever. You think that would have solved everything?
Maybe not. Not at this point, because now he's been given all these crazy powers to unleash plagues and, take over the world, but...
Oh, you think that the Magi 3,000 years ago should have just been like, you two exile. Oh, well, they couldn't, though, because Noxuna Moon killed herself.
She killed herself.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Mistakes were made. Well, he was gonna bring her back to life. And if he tried to bring her back to life just so he could take her and run off. But then they found him, stopped him from getting, a Noxuna Moon back.
We don't know what the plan was once they got... we don't know. They never really revealed that.
But I still think they just were gonna run off together.
With all their priests.
Sure. Why not?
Benny is randomly back in the jar room, and he's confronted by Imhotep. And we get this religiosity bit where Benny is going to do anything that he can to get away with anything.
Oh, absolutely.
So he's got the different religious symbols. He's got a cross, and he's got a Muslim moon and star, and he's got the Star of David.
Yes.
And that prompts Imhotep to recognize the Star of David as the Hebrew symbol.
Yes. The slaves.
So then he's like, all right, like, I guess if that's what you are, then, like, you can work for me? It's a strange, like, back and forth, but,
well,
I like how squirrely Benny is in trying to get out of it.
Yes. Well, I guess because he thinks, like, oh, you're a worker. I can use you.
Yeah, you're a worker, yeah. And he tells him that he'll give him gold and treasure if he helps him, and he wants to know where the other jars are. CGI here isn't great, but it could be worse. I feel like today's day and age, it would actually look worse because they wouldn't spend any time on it. And they would just
it would be rushed, and it would look too weird.
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
a little odd, but at the same time, it's like, it's
They
fine,
tried.
though.
Yeah, they
It's
tried.
got some
at least.
texture, weird stuff going. It's just the lighting that's off, and it looks too smooth.
Yeah, it all looks.
Everything looks too smooth when it comes to like the CGI back then.
They all leave Hamunaptra, and Imhotep breaks out of the ground. So you get the super shredder. You get the hand coming out of the ground.
And he's doing the growl yell, just like
Yeah.
Shredder did. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of Shredder. So we go back to Cairo, and a storm is coming in. Rick is planning to leave. He keeps packing Evie's bags while Evie tries to stop them because she thinks that they have to stop them. And Rick's like, we're getting the fuck out of here. I don't care if he takes over Egypt. I'm Rick O'Connell. I gotta get the hell out of here.
Right.
And he's like, you heard the guy. No mortal weapons can kill him. And she's like, we just have to find some immortal ones.
Right. Which, I mean, she's not really wrong. Like, there's just
Well,
gotta be a
because there has to
way.
be some sort of weapon, because if he can be brought back to life, there has to be some weapon.
way to stop him.
Yeah. So he decides to go to the fort bar. So there's this, like, British fort that must be somewhere in Cairo. It's the 20s, so it makes sense. I understand that. Imperialistic Britain. And when we meet this drunk who was left from the Great War behind...
Drunk pilot.
He was left behind. Yes, a drunk pilot, Winston. His mission in life was to die in a blaze of glory. The rest of his squad or whatever was taken out during World War I, except for him. And, like, he feels bad. He has, like, survivor's guilt.
I think that's exactly what it is.
So he's still, like, stationed in Egypt, though. So he just sits in this fort all day drinking, and he rots of boredom and booze. He's got the women, but I don't think he even cares.
No,
Like,
I don't think he cares too much. I think
he
this
wanted
man is
to-
absolutely depressed.
He wanted to go out with his boots on. He wanted to go out in the war. He's got that
He was
Lieutenant
ready.
Dan kind of thing going on, or any of those, like, warrior, I want to go out, I want to have a
Yes.
hero's death.
Exactly. He would work very well with the warriors that go to Valhalla, because that is how they have to go to Valhalla, is actually like in a blaze of glory.
Yeah. The joke here is that he's flying drunk because he takes Jonathan's shot and drinks it, and then he's like, back to the airfield then, and then just walks out. First time you saw this movie, like, okay, they introduced this character, he has to have something to do later
absolutely.
on. But I could see, like, a version where people would be like, what the hell was that? Like, for this random guy? But if you understand, like, how a story works, you're like, okay, he's got to come back.
Oh, yeah. Well, because, like, Rick knew him, too.
Yeah, Rick
He
knew
said,
him.
hey, Winston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're on a friendly basis. They've had many a dinner at this fort bar, for sure. The Americans are planning to leave, and they ask about Burns, and we cut to Burns. Benny is introducing him to Prince Imhotep. So he's calling himself a prince, Rachel.
Well,
so,
because, I mean, so did Benny. Benny, like, immediately goes,
oh,
my
yeah,
prince.
my
So-
prince. Yeah.
So he's
You're
already
right.
giving him that, like, glory of being some type of high whatever.
Falutin. Some highfalutin pharaoh wannabe. Benny is tracking down the Americans for him. That's what we've discovered here, and he reveals to Burns that it is the mummy by kind of a dickish way that Benny
horrible.
does this. Like,
This is
just do it and get it
horrible.
over with. Imhotep takes this mask off. Like, Imhotep was wearing... I wish he would have worn that mask a little more.
Yes.
Like, around... Like, you would have seen him, like, wearing the mask, like, almost, like, through the
like, in
streets
the
of
backgrounds and
Cairo.
stuff?
Yeah, like, in the background. That would have been kind of creepy and nice.
Yes.
I don't think we even see what he does to Burns, but I think we just cut away from the scene as Burns screams.
Yes.
And then all the booze in the bar turns to blood, because they're all trying to do a shot, and it all turns to blood. Jonathan does this thing throughout the rest of the movie where he recites Exodus.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Because he knows all the plagues. Right.
Right, yeah. So he's letting you know which plague we're on, so he doesn't think about the
And the rivers
turning
ran as if...
red.
Or as,
Yeah.
as they were blood.
Rick goes and finds Evie, tracks her down, but before they can do anything, hail and fire start to rain down too. This is the scene, Rachel, where I was like, oh shit, this 4K sound is really awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because, like, it was, like, coming across my media room. Like, it was
I love
truly, like,
that.
going
It
everywhere.
felt
It
like
was
it was over
really
you.
nice.
That's
yeah,
cool.
it was pretty great.
Jealous
Like,
of that.
No, for real. It was
No,
it
I'm
was
just
pretty
saying.
awesome.
I am jealous of that. I would have been fun to listen to.
Benny stumbles into them, and Rick confronts him, but they hear the mummy roar. So then Benny, like, kicks Rick in the crotch or something and then, like, gets out of there. I can't remember exactly what he does, but he gets out of there. He does it, like, twice. They do this, like, twice, where he confronts Benny and Benny gets away.
Benny weasels
because it happens
his way
in,
out.
like, 5 minutes. Yeah.
I think it's just that it startles him and he just runs away.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
They find Burns' corpse, and it's like, do you want to describe this, Rachel? Because I can't think of, like, how
he
to
looks
describe what Burns'
mummified.
corpse. Yeah, sort of.
It's like all the moisture was sucked out of him, and he's just like skin.
Yeah.
And bones. So the mummy literally sucked the life force out of him.
And the mummy begins to regenerate a bit, so he's got more skin and stuff on
like
now.
more
it's still,
muscles
like,
and
rotted
veins and everything is starting to build back, and it looks like it's painful. It's like painful for him to like regrow everything.
Yeah, I do want to know what this would look like if you could do it half practical, half CGI in like today's world, and actually took the time to do it. Because I mean, you can tell he's not there. He still looks cartoony.
Well, you don't
So, like,
you don't think there's actually like a person with like the dots on him?
I think the
doing
dots
movements?
are probably on him. Yes, no, I think
okay.
the dots are on him, but I think it's just layered up so much that you can't quite, like you're saying, it's all smooth. And like if he was sinewy or like, you know, dripping or like gooey and stuff,
that is called a horror movie.
Yeah, I suppose it's true.
But that would be great. That would be great.
Emotep shoves Rick, and he turns his direction toward Evie again, and he thanks her for waking him up. The established cat from an earlier scene, there's this like little white floof cat. He sees the cat.
Yeah, because it was in her room.
Yeah, and like goes on a piano, because I guess they just had a piano in this room. And he sandstorms himself out, so he like turns to sand and like runs away.
He like roars and sand and gets out of there.
Yeah. There's a side wipe, which I thought was kind of out of the blue.
Yes,
it's very out of the blue.
Really out of the blue. I don't really understand why they do a side wipe all of a sudden.
They've been taking us to different scenes without
just
having
kind of
to
like,
do that.
You know,
Yeah.
in and out fades, but this is like it's like a barn door opens, but like, you know, horizontally. It's not even a side wipe. It's a barn door. And all right,
it's a barn door. It's a
almost
barn
like-
door wipe. Folks at home,
It's one of those
we're
things.
creating, I want this to be a new thing, the barn door wipe.
It is called a barn door.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Well, folks at home, I am not
It's
in the
called a barn
business,
door
so I
transition.
clearly do not know that. Just showed how ignorant I am. They go to the Museum of Antiquities, and the curator is back there. Ardith Bay is there. I think this is where he says his name. If he does, it's
like
in
they're
this
talking
scene.
to each other?
Because he says,
see
like,
that.
yeah, meet Ardith Bay. And they're like, you again, or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is where the curator ends up admitting that he is a magi. They ask both of them if all of this justifies killing all of these people to stop the mummy. And the curator says, to stop this creature? And they both go, let me think. Yes! So that's why they're so reckless with the killing, because they're like, no, you don't understand. We will kill millions of people to stop this creature. You don't get it. Like, this
because
is a
he's going to
need.
destroy the world. There's a thing between
Yeah.
destroying the world and having to kill enough people to stop it.
Yeah, you could have let him have a girlfriend. Instead, he's going to destroy the world.
All they had to do
like,
was let him have a
he's
girlfriend back
kind
then.
of
It's ridiculous.
He's kind of like an internet troll, really, is what it is. Just gotta get this guy a girlfriend, and he'll shut the fuck up. The world might be in a better place.
Oh, God. He doesn't deserve a girlfriend. Those
No.
trolls. None of them deserve
Emotep
anyone.
deserves a girlfriend way more than those
yeah.
trolls.
No, the trolls, they don't deserve anybody. Usually
No,
they're disgusting.
they don't really deserve anything. Yeah, they
Yeah.
usually are they look like mummies. They look like Emotep waking up from the crypt, I think,
Yeah.
is mostly what happens there.
Slimy.
So anyway. Just asking for it. Or Rick asks them why he fears cats, and then they tell him, like, well, cats were the guardians of the underworld.
Right.
So
They would drag his ass
they're
right
gonna
back
drag
there.
his ass back in, yeah.
So it makes
the cats
sense.
know
It
that?
makes
'Cause
sense.
The cat hisses at him later. I think it's
Well,
just
of
because
course
he looks
it's
funny.
a cat. He doesn't trust that weird, creepy thing. Of course it's gonna hiss at him.
Damn right. That's true.
But maybe they really are working for Anubis and dragging souls back. We don't know. They're cats. Cats are crazy.
Cats are crazy. Have you ever had a cat hiss at you?
Yes. It's because I had my dog with me. So, of course, like, I had a cat hiss at me because I barked at it. It's what... And I was like, all right, calm down. It didn't hiss at me. It hissed at the dog.
I kind of wonder if I've ever had a dog hiss at me while, like, I've been on a walk. That's probably true. That a cat... Yeah, if a dog hissed at me, then something's very wrong. Cats usually can pick up that I'm allergic to them, so they instead of hissing at me, their form of torture is to rub up on me,
rub up against you and
like
knead
a bunch
your
of
chest
to be assholes. You know that one did. I was supposed to watch that cat and was like, it'll be fine. And of course she's like, I want attention.
To cuddle, and then laid on your stomach and just started doing the kneading of the dough.
My chest.
On your it was the cutest thing, and it was killing him. It was so funny.
Yes. I came home that day with, like, bulging like my eyes were, like, swollen shut. Rachel had to take care of the cat the rest of the time.
I did.
So they unveil what Imhotep's plan is here, which is he wants to resurrect Anck-su-namun, and they are going to use Evie as a sacrifice. And they think they can use that idea to kill Imhotep. They're not really sure what, but they can use that. They can, like, almost use Evie as bait to somehow if they can figure out how to do it, they can kill him that way.
Yes, if they can figure out how to kill him or do whatever, they can use Evie as bait to get him by them.
Yeah, and they just need to keep these Americans alive long enough.
Yes.
So that they can figure out how to kill him without him getting full power.
Here's my thoughts. All right. 3,000 years.
Thoughts.
You've had 3,000 years
to figure this out.
And instead of figuring out how to stop him after he's woken up, you've just been killing people. You could have at least had a fallback, which is stopping him after.
Yep.
Just
always
saying.
Have a plan B, folks.
That's right.
Always have the contingency plan if things fall through.
And maybe
the
a
Magi
plan C.
didn't.
Sometimes
the Magi didn't. They're not good at their jobs, Rachel. They're very bad at their jobs. I don't know how they've stuck together for 3,000 years because they're so bad at this.
I really don't know. It's another one of these secret societies, like in Da Vinci Code. All right, I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's another one of those. It definitely has that prior Scion feel. It's like, we just have orgies
and kill people.
Keep track of these secret keepers. We have a lot of puzzles. We do a lot of puzzles.
We love puzzles.
Do you think we can figure out how to kill them?
The Egyptians
through a
love puzzles. So.
They do love puzzles. An eclipse happens, and then they talk about how they need to find all of these jar keepers because they need to keep them safe. So, like, we need to find the Egyptologist. Rick is like, we're going to keep Evie here because we don't want Evie out because then she's going to be more bait to get to Imhotep. So he locks her in the bedroom.
With the Americans sitting outside. The both of them. Together.
Yeah, it should have been one American in here.
Yes. Another one flying across
Jonathan
the rest of the world.
as well. Yeah, and then the other one goes with Rick or something find the Egyptologist. Well, they want to gather them all up, and then it's like, okay, you gather all of them up, and then what?
Right.
Like, are you going to Thebes? I truly do think, Rachel, that it would have been good to go to Thebes at this point.
I think it might have been a fun idea.
They should have been like,
Thebes.
We're going to gather everybody up. Maybe one more American dies, and then we're going to Thebes to hide out.
Yeah.
Then you go back to that scene of Seti's area. Ardith Bay is like, well, the Magi will be there. We can
work together.
Yeah. And then before or while that's happening, then the mummy's slaves come or something like that. I feel like that could have been a way to escalate it a little more, because I truly do think that all of this Act 2 part with the killing all the Americans off is very short.
It feels pretty quick. It does feel very quick, and I agree. I feel like I wanted more from it.
Yeah.
Just a little bit
watching
more.
It back, like, I don't ever remember it being short, but, like, watching it back, it's like, oh, this happens very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The Egyptologist is running through the streets with the Book of the Dead for some reason. I don't know why he wouldn't have had this you put the Book of the Dead, you put that jar in a safe or something back at the hotel. I guess Benny's trashing the room looking for the Book of the Dead and the jar.
So he's trying to keep it safe.
There.
He's on the run.
Yeah. This part I thought was filmed more horror movie-esque.
Yes. And this is also where the eyes happen, like I was talking about earlier. So this is where it zooms in on the guy's face. He's freaked out. He's on the run. He's trying to stay away from the mummy. And as he moves away, the mummy is, like, hidden behind his...
Okay.
And you can see his creepy eye right behind him. He's on top of him.
Yep.
So yes, it is way more horror-esque in this scene. It's like some scenes were dark and scary. And most of the rest of it's kind of light.
Yeah. Rick hurls a chair at Benny. So then Benny gets hurt some more.
I love the whole hurling of the chair. I love him
it's
just
a
throwing
great
a chair at him.
Chair hurl. It's one-handed. He lifts it up without even looking at the chair and just whips this thing like a fucking like a boomerang, and it just nails Benny in the back. It's a beautiful chair swing. It might be cinema's greatest chair throw. I don't know what else we're gonna find on that list.
Oof.
But right now it's ranked up there. It's
absolutely.
It's kind of number one right now. Folks at home, let us know if there are any cinematic chair throws. I'd like to find those, please. I want a super cut of chair throws.
That'd be amazing.
Rick finds out that he's serving Emotep now. They hear a scream in the courtyard or like outside the window, and Benny again kicks Rick in the nuts and jumps out the window and runs out of there.
Well, first he's like holding him up to the fan that's got like metal blades on it.
Yeah, I liked that part of the threatening with the metal blades.
It's beautiful.
Bastard. It is like pretty threatening because like those blades are whipping around. I kind of would have liked if
it would have like cut off his nose.
Absolutely. You could have got a little bit of the fez falling off there.
Oh, yeah.
The Egyptologist has been sucked dry. And
same. So he looks like a mummy now. Yep.
And now Emotep has the Book of the Dead as well.
And a little bit more of an actual human look to him. You know?
I like this look of the mummy.
This is the best.
Honestly,
I kind of wish he was more like this for a long time.
Yeah, he should have stayed like this for a longer time. Again, if they would have gone to Thebes... You go to Thebes for 5 or 10 minutes, then now you're talking. I don't know what they would have done to the pacing, and it looks a lot like the Boris Karloff mummy with like the lines look, where he's like
it's like stretchy, sticky skin, and you can like see through, and it's like ripped in some ports. Oh, it's great! It's great.
He turns and he sends flies or locusts again at them, and then they like take over the entire square as he creepily walks away. I think it was like flies.
Because I think it's supposed to be. I think what he's doing is releasing like something that's going to cause like disease, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's what it's going for, because like, it's like the flies of things that go around like diseased people.
Yeah,
it's what it reminds me of.
But like you said, there should have been a little bit more of this like creepy mummy. Of like him like walking around creepily and stalking them.
Because now everybody sees him. Everybody. He's downtown.
He's downtown.
They suck this man dry.
Hey guys, it's Emotep.
Did you see it? It's Emotep.
Wow, we actually saw him, honey. We came all the way to Cairo. We actually saw him.
We actually saw a mummy.
Kids, go ask him. Go ask him if you can get your picture with Emotep. The one guy, Jeremy Piven, goes to get a drink, and he leaves blonde guy in the room alone. And the blonde guy is nervous, so he keeps asking for a bourbon, like 5 different times. You're being stalked by an immortal monster. I don't drink, but at that point, I might be like, I need something to calm my nerves.
Give me something a little stronger.
Give me something. Give me something while I'm waiting.
I mean, yes.
The wind does the blowing thing again, so you know something bad's about to happen.
And he did too, because he took out his gun.
He takes out the gun. He tensely walks
Finally, they're paying attention.
He tensely walks toward the window, and then he gets jump scare blown back by the sand, and Emotep sucks him up while he's in silhouette. It's really the best death so far.
You never it's the best one!
You never get to see the sucking happening. But I do like the silhouette suck quite a bit.
Yes, because his whole body is like contorting and shrinking, and then he's just thrown away like he weighs nothing.
And it fits that old Universal horror thing where like the stuff all happens in the shadows and stuff.
I do like that though. I like the shadows. It adds more to the imagination, and then they show his body after that, and it's just like kind of that horrified like ugh, like opened mouth like scream.
So now Imhotep is basically back minus a mouth hole.
Yeah, he does have a mouth hole in his cheek.
Yeah. Like Jonah Hex or something, or Two-Face.
I was thinking Two-Face.
He sands himself through the keyhole.
Yes.
And he goes to kiss a sleeping Evie. Rachel.
He does kiss a sleeping Evie. It's like a princess movie.
Why did Evie go to sleep?
I don't know. I said the same thing. I'm like, she should be like sitting in there reading. She should be trying to figure something out. Instead, she's fucking sleeping in her nightie. What you doing? Every time you're in your nightie, something bad happens. Let's not.
This is a bit of a problem I have with this character, where I do think that Evie has her arc is that she learns to be an archaeologist in the field, an explorer.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have the agency quite a bit at all throughout the movie, other than like knowing and being better at this stuff than like the Egyptologist or Rick or John. I half expected it to be like, oh, she wasn't really there. She like left the room. Mm-hmm. You know, like she jumped out the window.
I would have thought she jumped out the window or something, or she's sitting there reading and trying to figure out like what can she do to help. And
sleeping.
This is 100%.
Modern day, it could have been like she had sleeping pills. They forced her to sleep or something.
This had nothing to do with the character and what she would have done. This has nothing to do with it. It is whoever wrote this damn thing, or like the director was just like, let's put her back in her underwear and have him kiss her.
She's still in the same.
She's in her
outfit.
fucking pajamas.
She?
Yes, she's sleeping in her pajamas.
I thought she was still in the same outfit that, like, her Egyptian garb. You might be right, though.
No, she's back in her freaking nightie again. And it's totally just, let's just have her be sleeping in her nightie so that he can come in and, like, kiss her. I like the weirdness of his mouth going dead again as he kisses her.
Yeah.
But it just was one of those things where it's like, this is weird because I don't think she would be doing this.
Just seems odd. And even, I'm sure, like, as we watched it growing up, it never occurred to me. Mm-hmm. But if you take a second to think about it, it's like, why was she sleeping? That doesn't make any sense. She wakes up and freaks out. Rick is back in time, just in time, before anything happens. And he's got the cat with him. And this is where the cat hisses at him and he runs away.
Yeah, because he holds up the cat to him. Which, just keep the
like
damn cat with you this whole time.
Yeah, just
Put him in a papoose, hold him on you. Now you have the cat.
It's Cairo, 1926.
Go get more cats. They're running around everywhere.
They're all over, I guarantee.
That's right. Everybody gets a cat. Everybody holds on to a cat.
Everyone hold a cat. Do we all have our cats?
You name your cat.
Do you have a cat? Why didn't all the Americans have a cat? They all should have been holding a fucking cat.
I'm just saying, everybody should have had a cat the second they said, why is he afraid of cats? Everybody gets a cat.
Everyone gets a cat.
Everyone gets a cat.
They head back to the museum, positing that if they find the gold book, they might be able to kill him. I don't remember why they think this, but they think
because it's the Book of Life.
If the Book of the Dead brings you back to life, maybe the Book of Life can kill an immortal being. Meanwhile, the people have all turned into zombies for him. It's boils and sores, and they've become his slaves. So why did the regular people in Cairo become slaves, but not our small group of heroes?
They weren't in the vicinity when he released it? That's my only thought.
I guess that I can't think of like a logical reason. So I mean that's fine.
The only logical reason I can think of.
We don't know what the
there might be others that aren't, and they're just hiding.
That's fair. Yeah, it's just whoever he could get.
Whoever was in his vicinity
at the time.
Yeah. And Benny's not going to be it's not going to happen to him because he's already
Right. I do like the way this is where Imhotep goes like blah 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 blah, and like his mouth like drops like a Tex Avery wolf. Like it drops like down to his
very
stomach.
just like it's very elastic.
Love that effect. I don't know why. I just think that it's fun.
It's pretty great.
The slaves start banging on the museum door to get in, and the curator and Evie are trying to read the hieroglyphics to figure out where the Book of the Amun
Book
Ra
of Life. Yeah, Amon Ra's book.
is at. Because they're like, well, they had it backward. They know that the Book of the Dead was in the statue of Anubis, so then if we just need to find out where they got it backwards. So we have to find out where they said the Book of the Dead was, because that must be where the Book of Amun Ra is.
Right.
One of those lines again, patience is a virtue.
Oh, I say it all the time.
Come on, Evie, faster.
Patience is a virtue.
Not right now, it isn't.
Not right now, it isn't.
But I say it all the time.
Yeah.
And I know nobody gets it, but I do it anyways.
But if you ever hear Rachel say it,
now
this
you
is
know
where it's coming from.
Patience is a
It's
virtue.
coming from the mummy. That's gonna have to be another shirt where it's just like Shelf Life World Tour. And then on the back, instead of cities, it's just all the quotes that we say all the time.
I love that. From each
but
one
nobody
of our
gets.
movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Jonathan runs out to get the car because they've made it inside. At this point, Head Magi should have gotten some backup Magi to help with
You
this.
would think so. You would think so. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't get backup Magi until the end of the second movie.
Do you think
It's like,
they're
what the fuck are all
all
these Magi
already
doing?
fighting out there? Maybe they're all already fighting stuff.
I don't know.
He's killed them? I don't know.
I don't know. We never find out.
Yeah.
Evie figures it out. It's in the statue of Horus, which is why I kept getting Horus and Anubis mixed up.
Yes. Take that, Bembridge scholars.
Yeah, she's very happy with herself. Jonathan does the Emotep thing. He's going, Emotep.
Yes, because they start running
that's
after
what they
him.
were doing. Yeah.
And it
yeah.
works.
Very Shaun of the Dead-ish.
He tried, and it worked, and he went, thank God that worked, and just ran away.
Yeah. Kind of stupid, but it's fun.
It's a fun, stupid thing, but it's clever. You know, at least it's somewhat clever.
They run out, and they all get in the car, and then Benny rats them out by going, Emotep, there they are!
Yeah, he literally just, the Emotep.
They drive through the streets away from the mob. Is this where Rick also shouts back to Benny, you're gonna get yours one day, Benny?
Yes, I think so. You're
They
gonna
drive...
get yours!
Yeah, it's where people start foreshadowing that Benny's going to die a terrible death. You're going to die a terrible, terrible death.
And he goes, oh, like I've never heard that before.
Right, right.
So he's
because he
used to
hasn't. He always gets he gets away with all this shit.
Yes,
Benny's
he
a good
does.
little weasel.
He's a good weasel. He's a good weasel.
Good weasel. Never mind. They drive it's in Pauly Shore.
I knew it was a Pauly Shore. I'm just trying to figure out.
I don't know
what the
why.
hell.
I don't know why that popped into my head. It just did. I'm sorry. They drive through the streets away from the mob, but they come to a point in the road where there's just another mob waiting for them.
Yes.
So Jonathan stops the car, and if they only had a top on this car, they'd probably have been okay.
Oh,
But
yeah, sure.
It's a convertible, and because it's 1926, so Rick steps on the pedal, and they just start ramming through everyone, and the horde eventually overtakes them.
Oh, they
I actually
really
think
do.
this is
They all
actually kind of
grab
well
on.
done.
Yes.
Yeah, they're all like grabbing on, and they're trying to like shove these guys
still
off
moving
and stuff.
through the street.
It's like a zombie movie almost at this point.
At this point, it's like a zombie movie, and it's a chase scene.
Yeah. They grab the Jeremy Piven American off the back, so he's fucked. He starts gunning them down. He's double fisting the revolvers, doing the cowboy thing of shooting back and forth, but he runs out of bullets. And Emotep arrives, kills him, and now he's immortal. They crash the car and become surrounded, and Emotep comes, and he says he wants Evie. Come with me forever.
For all eternity, you idiot.
Thank you.
Because I know way too many lines in this movie.
This was the plan anyway, sort of. So, like, we just kind of have to go with it. You have to find the book because we think that that's the best way that we can do it. And it's just
Get
we
the
didn't get...
book and hope that he doesn't kill Evie before they can get to her.
She even tells Rick, if he turns me into a mummy, you're the first thing I'm coming after. Which is a good line from her.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm coming for you.
The Magi actually agrees that they have to fight, like, they have to do this. Like, this is the best course of action, is to let him have Evie, because he still has to get to Hamunaptra, he still has to perform the ritual, all this stuff. Rick wants the mummy to understand, though, that he's a badass, So he points the
course.
torch at him and he goes, "I'll be seeing you again." And the mummy
Well,
just smirks at him.
Because he understands. Like, he understands the mannerism of it. So
Yeah.
he does exaggerate it, but I think he's exaggerating it because, the mummy doesn't know English.
Right. No,
So
he
it
has to.
works.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he needs Emotep to
I
understand.
need you to know I'm coming for you.
Benny takes the key from Jonathan, and then Emotep says to kill them as he walks away. But there's
he knew Setna, or I don't know how, he says it a million times.
He says he knew Setna a lot in this movie.
And I know I said that wrong, so I apologize if I offended your mother.
There's a 1920s Egyptian sewer drain, so they go down there to meet the Egyptian Ninja Turtles, which
that'd
I
be
can
interesting.
only, yeah,
It's Shredder and the Ninja Turtles.
Shredder and the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
It's a crossover. Stay tuned. And the curator
Would they be turtles? I guess they could be turtles.
They could be turtles. Turtles can be in Egypt. Why not?
Yeah.
I think, right, folks? Let me know.
Yeah. What would be
Oh,
the
man.
equivalent?
Scorpions? I don't know.
It's the only one you're, like, relying on.
Crocodiles? There's a bunch
Like
of
a
leather
lizard?
head down there.
Yeah, there's gotta be, like, some sort of lizards.
lizard.
Yeah.
Frogs. They knew what frogs were.
Yeah. Like toads.
Yeah. Toads. Yeah.
Yeah. That's, like, another plague, isn't it?
Yeah,
Something
toads
with
was
frogs
another
or
plague.
toads. Yeah.
Yeah. So they
I'm
know what
surprised
they
they didn't
are.
do that one.
They could have done that
I would have
one.
liked to see toads hopping through the streets,
Mm-hmm.
Be kind of cute. A lot of ribbiting.
So they get down to the turtle lair of 1920s Egypt, which has to be the grossest thing ever.
Ugh, I would imagine.
And the curator sacrifices himself so that they can get away. Which,
Right.
like, you're a magi, you're old.
That's kind of like your job.
Yeah, and this was your job for thousands of years, so...
So this guy did his job, kind
Yeah.
of. You
Kind
know?
of.
He
didn't
hit
have-
the map. He destroyed the map, which was one
He
of
tries
his
to
things.
destroy the map, yeah.
And then
yeah.
he, like, actually follows them because he's like, great, they're still going. So
Right.
he actually follows them and meets up with the other Magi's. And then
Mm-hmm.
now he's like, okay, now I gotta sacrifice myself for these idiots.
Yeah, he tries.
He tried.
R.I.P. curator guy. He tried. There's a fade to black this time.
Yes.
Much better.
Much better
Than a
than a
side
weird
wipe.
barn. Yeah.
And we go back to the Air Force Base. So Winston comes back to the movie.
He comes
Because
back.
now they want to use Winston's plane to be able to get to Hamunaptra as fast
Faster.
as they can.
Mm-hmm.
Winston is just sitting there. He's chilling on a dune like a
Drinking some
badass.
tea.
He's got some tea.
Enjoying
He's got
his
a
records.
He's got a
Yeah.
parasol. He's got a record on. Oh, just a fucking life. I get it. I get that he wanted to go out in a blaze of glory, but this is my retirement right here. I just got a
In
dude
the
holding an
middle
umbrella,
of the desert.
listening to podcasts on top of a hill. That's all I want.
On top of a sand dune. You gotta realize he's in the desert, though.
You're right. You're right. It's a little
That's
worse
the
'cause
part
he's on a
that's kind
fucking
of like,
sand
eh.
dune. An exotic location, Rachel.
It is kind of
okay,
cool,
how about that?
though.
An exotic
It's still
location.
a fun, cool location to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they are like, well, what does your need have to do with His Majesty's Royal Air Force? And Rick's like, not a goddamn thing. And he's like, well, is it going to be dangerous? And they're like, well, everyone else we've met up with on this adventure is dead. So the likelihood is that you're also going to die because we're the only ones without any plot armor. So
Yes.
you should die. And he's like, oh, wonderful.
He said what he says it's wonderful because he goes, well, what's the stakes? And he goes, there's a damsel in distress and we
Yes.
have to kill a guy to save the world. And he goes, perfect. Let's
Yes,
go.
Exactly what I want. I'm fucking bored.
He's so
Get
excited.
me some wake up juice. I need to
I
sober up
can't
real
wait.
quick.
I can't wait to die helping.
Yeah,
It's a little
Like-
morbid, but it's great.
I like
I
this
love
character.
Winston.
yeah.
I
this
love
is
Winston.
pretty great. It's so like
He knows his own drive. He's ready.
I even like the fact that they point out that this movie is so 1930s serial of we have to save the damsel in distress, we
Yes.
have to kill the monster, we have to save the world. Like,
Exactly.
that's what this
Hits
movie
all the
is.
points. Nice
It's
and easy.
nothing more. It is nothing more than that. It is an
It's supposed to be
adventure.
fun. Yep.
John and Ardith Bay are on the wings of this plane
there's
it's
no
just like a
space.
two-seater. Yeah.
Yes. That is horrifying, but they do have him strapped in, so there should be fine.
Rick turns and is like, how is, how am I doing? Yeah. And he's like, do I bloody look all right? And he turns and he asks Ardeth Bay, I thought that he looked like he was having fun.
He looks like he's having the time of his life up there. He looks so excited.
That's what I thought, too. Yeah.
I love it.
A sand tornado keeps following them. And Winston points out that he's never seen it do anything like that before. And
Or
he's like,
that big.
Never? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Benny and Evie get shot out of the sand tornado. Imhotep is in full regalia at this point. He's in the mummy rags, but he's all Arnold Vosloo out right now.
Oh,
in
that's
his
right.
loincloth.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah. Show it. Show everything. Everyone in this movie is gorgeous.
And he realizes that he needs to take down the plane. Folks at home, we're going to try to not spend the next 20 minutes on this one line from the mummy, but we kind of have to. Oh, before we get to that,
I think
though,
also Evie's like, oh, we're screwed because he, like, magicked us Hamunaptra.
Yeah. I will, because she thought they were going to have more time because it was going to take days to get there, and instead they sand tornado their way in.
Yeah.
This is where I realized that I don't know if I've read or heard criticism, I just could feel if people found that this back and forth from Cairo to Hamunaptra to Cairo to Hamunaptra to Cairo to Hamunaptra is a little bit like, why would we just keep going back and forth? Why don't we go somewhere else? Like we were saying earlier.
Sure.
And I think that would have made it flow a little better.
Because
otherwise you just feel like you're going back and forth. And it's like, why are we going back again? Like, you're like just going back and forth. They see the plane, and Evie goes, O'Connell. And I was like, dude, your brother came too. Give your brother a little bit of credit.
Yeah, but...
Rachel, wouldn't you give me a little bit of credit if I was hanging off the side of the plane wing?
She doesn't know
try to come save you.
I wouldn't know.
She doesn't know it's O'Connell. It could just be Winston out for a fucking ride.
It's kind of... They're going straight to Hamunaptra. Who else is it gonna be? Plus, he's a bit more of the heroic hero. Yes, her brother is also along for the ride. But I think it's, like, a lot of it is she knows O'Connell figured out a way to get to her. And she's in love. She's in love.
Yes.
But yeah, I'd probably give you a little credit.
Thank you.
Probably also, like, smack you because you probably did something stupid,
Fair enough. A fairly decent little action bit of the plane getting engulfed by the sand, and then the face comes out after them, and it's the mummy face. And Rick, of course, because he's Rick, shoots at it. Like it's gonna do literally anything.
You just shoot at anything.
You're shooting at a giant sand wall.
That's right. That's right.
Winston is thrilled by this as the plane gets taken down.
He's so excited.
He's going, I'm coming for you, laddies! Ah! He's on this suicide mission. And Evie finally stops this from happening by kissing and distracting Imhotep, and that stops him from being able to put the sand wall up.
Because he, gets distracted by it.
Now we have come to the point of one of Rachel and I's... This is one of Rachel and I's quotes. So this is definitely a Shelf Life quote. So definitely. I won't harp on it. I won't talk about it for 20 minutes, even though it's Shelf Life, and we can talk about anything for 20 minutes, and that's our God-given right.
That's right.
As your entertainers and the best damn podcasts in town.
Obviously.
Benny trying to kiss Imhotep's ass, who just kind of walks away, realizing that Evie stopped him from truly getting them to crash and burn. Like, he
kind of thought maybe...
Yeah.
Maybe they died.
Like, he's still like, yeah, we got him. I mean, they still crashed.
It should be enough.
Completely stop me. Yeah.
Right.
Benny trying to be a kiss ass to Imhotep just goes, it's so brilliant.
I love the whole sand wall trick. It's brilliant. Beautiful. Bastard. Because he can't understand him.
Right. Yeah.
So he's kissing his ass and also going, son of a bitch.
Yeah, like acknowledging that he doesn't like Imhotep, he just has to do this to save his own ass, because that's Benny's character.
Oh, it's great.
So Rachel and I, whenever we aren't quite sure how to, like, compliment something, or something like
beautiful.
that. We'll just go, yeah, it's beautiful. I love the whole
Sand
sand
wall
wall trick. It's beautiful, bastard.
Bastard.
And it's just the way that Kevin O'Connor even does like a bastard. Like he
Yes.
really like punches it in like a really nice way.
Yes.
So yeah, that line, folks, you'll hear it at the end of this podcast. That is
Wait
up on
for
the
it.
shelf. That line is on the shelf. That's on the Hall
Period.
of Fame line with some of these
Yes.
other lines that you've gotten throughout your shelf life journey so far.
Which you probably have gotten this one multiple times.
We have, I mean,
On
we're
your
throwing
shelf
it
life
in this episode on purpose, but you've probably heard it in other episodes of Shelf Life. We've been doing it
course.
throughout the fucking episode.
Obviously.
They come out of the plane crash. Winston is dead. And
He's
he's got
smiling,
a smile
though.
on his face.
He's just like, finally, I did something.
The
His
plane
life has
gets,
meaning.
Yes. The plane gets engulfed in quicksand or something, and then we turn
It's
out it is
quicksand.
quicksand.
Yeah.
They do want to make this like we should have really revered Winston, because as the plane goes into the ground, O'Connell salutes him. I went back and forth on this in my head a couple of times, Rachel, as I was making notes for the episode. I think this would have been even better if we got one more scene with Winston.
One more scene with Winston would have been perfect. Yes, I agree.
You get
I
your
agree.
introduction, and then in the next scene he's dead.
I think
feel
this
like there
whole
should have
thing
been
with Thebes, there could have been a whole, like,
something with
extra,
Winston,
one
yeah.
extra, like, 2 scenes. I want 2 more scenes, and that would have been it. Yeah.
Yep. You would have felt even more for Winston, because like now you learned
absolutely.
even a little bit more about him, or he
Right.
helped them. Maybe he gets the car to get them out of Thebes or something. Like I don't
Right.
know, but like I do love them finding him and telling him they need the plane, and the death is good.
Oh, absolutely.
And everything. It just feels like you needed a little bit more
Like
of
something
Winston.
in between there, or something before all of that would have been great.
Like maybe it would have been ruined if you had more of him, but I think I truly think a little bit
Just
more
a
would have been. It could
smidge.
have gone a long way.
Just a smidge.
They walk into Hamunaptra, and it's supposed to be a reflection of the first part when Imhotep goes in with all of his priests. This time he just has Benny and Evie with him.
Yes.
Evie stops Benny because Benny, like, shoves her. And Evie goes, nasty little fellows like you always get their comeuppance. Always.
And then he kind of goes, He does, like, actually have a little reflection on that.
Well,
Like,
because
it wasn't just like a scoff. He kind of went, I think you might be right.
Well, like, at this point, you're in Hamunaptra again, and you're like, you're pushing your luck. You're pushing your luck,
Truly.
little man. They're trying to get to the Book of the Living under the statue of Horus.
Which is under
greedy-
a ton of rubble.
Yeah, so Ardith Bay and Rick are, like, unveiling stuff. John sees a scarab,
Yes.
so he, like, pulls it out, and of course the thing breaks out, gets into his arm, and they have to cut it out. So they cut, like, that would be, like, just let the thing kill me. Just let it kill me. This scarab is just in my skin. Like,
No.
no.
But they, like Rick was able to, like, hold it at his shoulder and, like, rip it out with a knife.
Yeah, but still, like, like, you wanna know
all
when,
of it. All of it.
Like, I'd probably have been dead long ago in this movie, but I would have been one of the workers with the acid in my face or whatever. But, like, a scarab gets in you, like, Rick shoots it, because of course he does.
Of course he does. Step on the damn thing. You have boots.
Well, but it goes... I don't know. I think...
I guess
think
you're
a knife-
right.
A knife probably would have been a better...
Like a throwing knife?
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because he shoots it, Imhotep realizes that they're there. So he wakes up his priests. And his priests are real mummies. They look like mummies.
Oh, yeah.
They're wrapped up like mummies. They walk like mummies. Guys in mummy costumes with his
Yes.
priests.
Mummies.
They get to a room and Rick shoots a mirror to do the trick. And it's the treasure room. So now they've
Of course.
found the treasure room of Hamunaptra.
Gold and sparkliness everywhere.
All of the Knights Templars treasure is in here. The Holy Grail's in there somewhere.
Everything is in... Oh, it definitely is in there. 100%.
It's definitely in there.
Not the woman. The actual Holy Grail.
Well, Mary Magdalene could be in the Hamunaptra too.
Maybe
she's in a sarcophagus
Hamunaptra.
somewhere.
Ooh,
Yeah.
interesting. That's where they put
They
her.
had her in a pyramid,
That's where
Rachel.
they put her. You're right. You're right.
They did have her at the bottom of a pyramid. These mummies pop out of the ground, and they start blasting away. Benny runs in and goes full Abu at this point,
Oh,
just at the sight of all of
absolutely.
this stuff.
Well, I mean, he did promise him treasures, so
He did.
he gets his
did.
fill. He wants
Yeah.
his fill.
Evie is tied up next to the Anaxuna Moon mummy, and there's a rat on her, so that's gross too. She freaks out about the rat being on her, but then when she turns and sees an Anaxuna Moon mummy, she's like,
She
"Wah!"
screams even
Which, I mean,
more.
I would be
You
too.
scream once, and then you scream again.
Rick is able to blow up some of the mummies with the stick of dynamite, and it like buys them some time.
Yes.
Benny is dragging treasure out, tying it to a camel.
Which,
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Why are there
Yep.
just a group of camels out here? Which
Yep.
I don't know what a whole group of camels is called, but a group of camels
I'm gonna look it up right now.
with bags on them, and, you know, they're saddled up. They got
Yep.
the stirrups. They got the blankets. They're ready. They're
Yep.
like, are these just leftovers from, like, people who have come here and died? And they're just like,
Yeah.
yeah I'll just hang out.
What?
It's
Yeah.
fine.
No idea. No idea what any of that is.
There's just so many camels.
It's called a caravan.
Ah, the caravan.
Mm-hmm.
Caravan.
Caravan.
Caravan of camels.
We got a caravan of camels. There's also a deleted scene in here that I actually would have liked, where as they're trying to get to the Book of Amun-Ra, mummies pop up from out of the ground underneath them, and they start to overtake them. And they actually get Jonathan and Rick get pushed back as Ardith Bay is taking out the other ones from, like, that are coming down that one hallway.
Yes.
And the mummies go to get the book themselves so that they can probably give it to Emotep.
Right.
But
Because he knows
just
what
like
they're
with
doing.
but just like with the other book, it sprays the acid at them.
Oh.
Yeah, so then
Oh, that would
then
have
Rick
been
and
interesting.
yeah, because it makes
Yeah.
sense. Like why
Right.
would this one not be protected too?
I guess I didn't even think about that. That's actually, I would have liked that in here. That would have been good.
And maybe it just made it too long or something. I don't know, because it was like
I just
I watched it and I was
I
like,
want it
I don't know why
longer.
you couldn't have just done that. Yeah. Benny ties the stuff up to the camels, like you said, but he can't stop himself.
Nope, he's greedy.
He has to go get more. If he would have just left,
If he would have
he could have
left.
lived like a king.
Yep.
It goes to show, folks at home, don't get too greedy. If you
That's
get something, just leave.
Be thankful.
You're
and
good.
leave.
Yeah,
Even
you're
if
fine.
you're a weasel and ended up getting what you think you deserve, just leave.
Just leave. Ardith Bay realizes that more guys are coming in, more of these mummies are coming in, so he turns to them and he goes, "Save the girl. Kill the creature." And he goes to, like,
He could have said save the world.
sacrifices himself.
Yes.
They throw another bomb in there, which, like, blows it all up.
Well, he throws a bomb at a wall.
To blow it, well,
He doesn't
Does he
throw it at the
throw-
mummies. No, because no, he just throws it at a wall so they can have another exit
Oh,
point, because there isn't
okay.
another exit.
Okay. I thought he, like, threw it in with Ardith Bay.
No.
Okay.
I thought he was. I forgot if he did or not too, and I had I was paying attention. I was like, does he actually throw it in there? And then I'm like, no, he just threw it into like a wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you are right, I was not paying attention. The purple fog comes back from Mortal Kombat so that it can resurrect Anaxuna Moon. So, like, Anaxuna Moon's soul comes back. She awakens, and Evie is freaked out because now there's a mummy next to her that's alive.
Yes, screaming.
And she looks like a mummy, too. I like having a woman mummy, because I don't know if you've gotten that in the
Always
mummy
love that.
movies.
She looks fantastic.
She still looks hot.
Well, as like a mummy, it looks like a
I know
mummy.
what you meant, but I had to. Emotep goes to kill Evie, and Jonathan shouts that he found the book, and it's just a
Yes.
distraction so that Rick can break her free.
Mm-hmm.
He does get one of her arms loose, but then he starts fending off the mummies. There's a nice little sequence here. It's completely CGI, and they even show this in the behind the scenes where Rick is
Yes.
going around the altar.
I've watched these behind the scenes before.
Yeah, there's nothing there. It's just Brendan Fraser doing choreography, and then they
Exactly.
CGI'd around him his movements.
Yes.
So they said Brendan did all of this.
He had to
very,
pretend he was hitting something and stabbing
yeah.
something and punching something in the face and like
Yeah, and had to
knocking their
practice this
heads off.
choreography very well. I actually like this
it has to
sequence.
be
You
like
can't-
jerky, you know?
Yeah, And you can't really tell that it's not, and because he's fighting mummies, he can be stiff on it because, like, it's a mummy, so, it works.
Because they're supposed to be, like, grabbing him, too.
Yeah. So, I like that little sequence going around the altar there.
I do enjoy
it. Works. He even gets a very 90s line of looking at her and going, mummies.
Yeah, he does. It's a very silly, just thing to
90s
say
line.
at that point. It is, yeah. He gets grabbed by the zombie.
Pinned down, yeah.
Without legs.
And they've got, a big block of... It's probably the Ten Commandments. They've got it, and they're ready
It kind of looks like it, yeah.
They're gonna, throw it on top of him to kill him. But they're some mummies, so they're moving slow. And he's able to grab a mummy hand to help him grab the sword before they can drop the stone on him, and then he cuts the mummy's feet off and gets out of there.
Luckily, he falls backwards and not forwards, but yes, yeah.
That's also true.
Because if that mummy would have fallen forward, he still would have been crushed by this.
Yes. Did you notice that the sword is the Pharaoh's sword from the beginning that Imhotep steals and kills the Pharaoh with?
Is it really? I did not notice
that. It's that same, golden sword, yeah.
Oh, I like that. Yep.
Very Pirates of the Caribbean with the sword symbolism there.
Beautiful.
Bastard. Whole sand wall trick.
That came out so naturally. I didn't mean for it. I really did.
Well, we have to. It is the mummy.
It is the perfect time to do it.
Jonathan is trying to read the inscription, but he doesn't have the key to be able to unlock the book. So all he can do is read the inscriptions on the front, on the cover. Yes. And he reads it, but he unwittingly brought forth more undead mummy guards. And this time it's the Pharaoh's elite something or other.
It looks like the Pharaoh's guards. It's not the Magi, but it's definitely the soldiers.
Soldiers of some kind, yes.
Yeah.
So now we have these more elite mummies going after Rick. Imhotep is stalking Jonathan, and Anck-su-namun is trying to kill Evie, which she probably shouldn't do, because if she kills Evie, then Imhotep
isn't that the whole idea? Because he has to stab her in the ceremony. You're right. Well, maybe she's just trying to stop
subdue her.
She's just trying to subdue. Yeah.
Yes. Evie's telling Jonathan if you finish the inscription, you idiot, then you can control them.
Right.
She calls a lot of people idiots in this movie.
Sometimes you have to. You gotta let it go.
Rick primally yells back at the mummy guards, and they go blah, and do the big mouth
jaw
thing.
Yeah. And that was not dealing with it.
Do not like that part where Rick goes and shakes his head no and runs away.
It's too
corny
and jokey. I don't like that one.
Too jokey on that part. Yep. The jokes and the tone of the jokes should be part of the characters and a part of the situation, and that takes you out of the movie too much. It makes it feel like he's too aware that he's a movie character.
Yes, it did feel that way.
They do keep running in circles. They are definitely just running around in circles in this room.
Well, because they're trying to stay together, but also, fight off all the mummies.
At one point, a mummy gets lit on fire. I liked that. I thought that was very fun.
Of course. They're crawling on the walls and stuff, too.
They crawl on the walls.
It's creepy.
Yeah, and then, Rick turns around and none of them are there, and then he turns around and they're, all standing there behind him.
Yes.
They eventually are ready to kill Rick. They've got him on the ground. They've gotten rid of his sword. Mm-hmm. And he's just, there, and they all, point the stuff at him. And finally, Jonathan figures out the last symbol, which is a stork.
It's a bird. It's a stork.
It's a bird. A stork.
I see.
Oh, yes, I see. Yeah, the way that he says that, where he's like, oh, yes, of course. Now he controls them, and he tells them to go kill Anck-su-namun, which we see, again, in silhouette. So you get to see Anck-su-namun die twice in this movie in silhouette, and this time the mummies are, taking her down.
Stabbing her. Just stabbing away.
Imhotep grabs Jonathan, and Rick cuts his arm off.
Yes.
And then
and this, because we forgot that Evie did tell him where he was where is the key, and she goes, it's in his robes. I feel like he's okay, well, he's here, I'm gonna take advantage of this, let him come all the way to me.
Come closer. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And
so
that's
Jonathan
when his arm gets knocked off, and he, sleight of hand, gets the key.
Right, because Imhotep turns his attention to Rick, hurls Rick across the room and then attaches his arm back, which I love that they were like, we can save some money. Arnold, just go like this.
Just
with
put it
your
back
arm.
on.
Just put it back on like this.
You're stuff confused back together. You're immortal.
Yeah, it's fine.
You're still building your body up.
Yeah, you're a mummy. It's fine. Jonathan does have the key, so I like that too because it comes back. It's
does.
Part of his character. He's a good pickpocket, and he pickpockets
He's useful.
Imhotep in the end. Yeah, because at this point now Imhotep has to be pissed off. Like, can he do it again? Can he resurrect Anaxunamun again, or is the fact that they had the mummies batter the shit out of her
the body? Like, did they
Yeah,
destroy
like,
her organs now because
now
they were
is
a
it
part of
impossible?
the canopic jars? Like, what's going on?
Exactly. Terrible ADR here, because when she says keep him busy, he goes, no problem. And he clearly did not say that. It's
You don't think
clearly ADR. Oh, I think it's definitely ADR. Oh, you're being a jerk. You're making a joke.
I mean, it does seem that way.
It's very clearly not him saying it in the moment. I also don't think it was necessary. Like, you get it. Like, as a person, you can be like, I don't think that should be a problem. Like, you can riff over that yourself in your head.
Yeah, I think it's like the joke of, but they wanted him to actually say it,
Imhotep unleashes his mouth again because he's gonna eat him, I guess. But
I think he's gonna suck the life force out. I think we were actually gonna get to see him do the sucking of the life force. Yeah.
Okay. You think he can do it to other people that don't have the canopic jars? You think that's like
it had nothing to do with the canopic jars. He was just taking their life to become fully formed. Now he's just using his powers just to kill people.
All right,
that's
fair.
my point.
Yeah. As she says this, something Amenethus or whatever she says,
something dark side.
So yes, something dark. I can't remember what she says, but
Paradus,
whatever she Paradus. Yeah, she says it. And then I guess the ghost of the pharaoh comes in this chariot.
No, you think it's the pharaoh?
It's a chariot. I assumed it was like the pharaoh's chariot.
I assume it's like somebody of the underworld.
I think that's probably better.
Comes to remove his immortality.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is.
I think that's probably better.
I like the idea that the pharaoh gets to be like, finally, I get to
gets his revenge.
Rip him back now.
But it could just be like an underworld god of some kind. Sure.
Right. At the same time, did you notice that Rick's face is turning blue, like while he's holding him?
I did not.
Yeah,
I did not
his face is like
that.
turning purple. I thought it was
not
weird.
Even on the 4K
I don't think it was necessary.
Well, he did almost die making the movie, Rachel. So
okay, fine.
You might as well just kill Brendan Fraser right now. Brendan, we're gonna need you to choke you again if that's okay in this scene.
A lot of choking of Brendan Fraser.
Rick's like, I thought that it was gonna kill him, or Rick stabs him through the stomach with the sword.
Right.
And Evie's like, he's mortal.
And
Imhotep stumbles back,
Yeah.
falls into the Black Soul River thing, crumples back up into his mummy form, and says death is only the beginning as he falls into the river of souls.
Yes. Now, did you know this was not the ending that they originally had?
I did not.
So apparently, what the ending was that they had before this was his body was just laying there. Like, there's his body now. He's immortal. He has a body. It's going to lay there. They wanted it to be more. They wanted to have more of that supernatural feel to it. So that's why they had him, fall back into the River of Souls. And his life force was removed, and he turned mummy again.
Okay. That's interesting. Which one do you like more?
I like the souls. I think it's a little bit more. It gives a little extra. Otherwise, he would just fall dead, and his body would just be there. You're right.
That'd be kind of anticlimactic. If he did that. Okay. Because I was gonna say that's kind of fitting for he lost it all because he just collapses dead. He's nothing now. He's just there. But I see your point with the effects and supernaturalness. Benny has grabbed a couple more bags, dragging them out again, and he sets one down. Our heroes probably think that this all happens because Imhotep was dragged back into hell, but that's not really why. It's because Benny's an idiot and set it down on top of this lever.
Yes.
And the lever goes down, and it sets off this self-destruct for the city, which,
it just, buries itself.
There better have been a warning sign or something on that.
There
because
probably was. I mean, there's a lot of hieroglyphs everywhere.
Big self-destruct. Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, it is, like, just, like, sticking out. Like, somebody could have just bumped into it. It's very dangerous.
It's very dangerous. Jonathan drops the book of Amun-Ra, I think, as they, like, are trying to escape, because, like, the three of them are like, we gotta get the hell out of here.
And it goes into the water.
Yeah. Evie's upset because she's like, we gotta get the book, and they're like, come on, come on. And then they do the same thing with Jonathan, because they get into the treasure room, and Jonathan's like, can't we just, like, take one thing? And they're like, no, we gotta get out of here. They could have taken something.
Right.
They could have been grabbing shit as they were running. It would have been fine. They're able to sneak out because as this is happening, a bunch of walls
Oh my god.
are, like,
this is horrifying. All of this is horrifying.
To, like, lock. It's almost like a panic room, like a safe lock thing where, like, we're gonna shut down the museum so that nobody can steal the stuff or whatever.
Right.
That's, like, what's happening. So it's, like, closing off all the rooms to, like, panic room them. They are able to just sneak out. And, of course, they, like, just get under at the right time. But Benny is trying to get out.
And he does actually try to grab Benny to pull him through.
He does try to save him. Yes, he does try to save him. Because he's our hero, Rachel. He's a virtuous hero.
Of course. He probably also wants to punch him in the face.
Oh, I want to punch him in the face.
Oh, this part, though, where, like, okay, Benny doesn't get in there and he says, bye-bye, Benny. And then Benny crawls under this...
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Where it's like, it could just crush him at any second. And I'm just like, oh, my God, you could barely fit under there and you're crawling out. Like, that's horrifying. Because it's just like, that would be so awful.
Yeah, going under these big slabs is terrifying. I have recurring dreams where, like,
Being crushed?
hidden... No, where I have, like, hidden things in like, a room. Or, like, I buy a house and then I'm like, oh, look, there's, like, this hidden thing. If I, like, crawl through it, there's, like, you know, bigger rooms on the other side.
Yeah.
And I always crawl through it and, like, I'm afraid I'm gonna get stuck. And it's the dream. It's not real, but I'm always like, I'm gonna get stuck in here. Like, I always have that dream. And it's like, going under this slab would be like, you might as well crush me. Because, like, whatever. Benny probably wishes he was crushed. Because instead, what happens to him...
Well, he's in the center of the gold room. Everything is shut around him. He sees a scarab, tries to hide it, scare it with the fire, but then he gets overrun and just probably eaten alive.
And we don't get to see that either. The light goes out.
Because the light goes out.
We hear him scream. We hear them chewing on him, and then that's the end of Benny.
Yep. Bye-bye, Benny.
Thank you for your services. Meanwhile...
He comes back at the ride.
he gets his comeuppance, does he?
Doesn't he? Isn't he the one that's in the sarcophagus that's dressed as a mummy and he tells you to turn around and get out of there? Because he's got the fez. Maybe it's not.
Oh,
Maybe it's just supposed to be somebody random.
Yeah.
But I always thought it was supposed to be Benny.
I like that interpretation of the ride. Remember that when we get back to it. He gets a fitting end, though, for being the little weasel rat.
He gets his comeuppance. Yep.
Which you want in this type of movie. Meanwhile, the city is collapsing, and the ruins are collapsing as our three heroes escape, and the sand is taking the city under. And those camels that were there for some reason are run out of the city, too, as it gets enveloped by the desert. A hand grabs Jonathan, and it's Ardith Bay. He was able to get out somehow.
That's right.
We don't know how, but he was able to get out.
Well, he got away from the mummies. If he could get away from the mummies, he probably just left the city, and he's like, it's up to them now. I led the mummies outside, and now I had more space to kill them, you know?
Do you think that the camels were left by Magi?
It's the only thing I can think of. It's either the Magi's camels, or it's just people who have gone there and then get, like, murdered, and they're like, well, we can't take all the camels back, so then it's just
It's definitely
just there.
Deus Ex camels, for sure. Ardith Bay thanks them for stopping the creature. He says, may Allah smile upon you always. And Jonathan's like, yeah, you too, whatever. And he heads out on the camel, and Jonathan's like, he's just gonna leave us here? And Jonathan's upset because he's like, after all that whole adventure, and we ended up with absolutely nothing in the end.
Right. And then you see
Rick's
the sparkle and the glint.
Well, first Rick is like, I don't know about that, and then Rick and Evie kiss. So you get the end of the movie kiss at the end, and Jonathan rolls his eyes, which I enjoy as well. He's just
then says, do I get a smooch from the camel? And the camel does the greatest acting of everyone in this movie. Beautiful.
But what does the camel do? That's
It's
your
just
favorite
the way
acting
it, like, opens his mouth at his face.
That's true,
Like,
yeah. He's
it's
like,
very
"Whoa."
funny. Yeah.
And then they ride off into the
I
sunset.
don't know if it was intentional. I don't know.
I don't know if they had a trainer that.
I
told
doubt he
the
like
camel
opened
to
his.
do
I think it just was, and because then he's like doing the oh god your breath.
Yeah, your
like...
breath. Yeah. They ride off into the sunset, and all the gold that Benny stole is in the camel pouches. So,
Yep.
and they don't even know it, but they ended up bringing back a ton of treasure from Hamunaptra. So they ended up getting to be rich at the end as well. A good last shot.
Yes. Oh, it's a great last shot with the sun rising. No, setting.
I think it's setting.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for a walking off in the sunset shot. I love the finality of it. I know it's corny. I know it's cliche. But there's a reason that some things are cliche.
At least it feels wrapped up and easy.
And there's a reason that some things are cliche, and it's because they work. And if they work, if you do them well, then they convey exactly what the audience is supposed to think. And it's like a nice, like, our heroes have triumphed, and they fell in love, and Jonathan got to his riches, and they saved the world.
Yes. Jonathan, by the way, I noticed this, like, his shirt was dark. They really didn't want to show any blood in this movie. Because, like, where he would have cut that out, it was, like, all dark, like, it looked more like a dark stain of water.
Yeah.
So
well, you got that PG-13 hanging over you, and you want it to be more friendly than not, I guess.
Yeah, but I didn't realize he kept holding that like it was hurting.
Yes. And he had his hand wrapped up too, if you notice. And I don't know if
because I think that's where the scarab went in. So maybe that like opened up something.
That could be. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the adventure ends, and we go to our credits. It's in hieroglyphics. We get all their names, and then they turn into English lettering with some like hieroglyphs off of it. And that is the end of The Mummy from 1999, directed by Stephen Sommers. Okay, so Rachel, we have gone through it. We've done our usual spiel. Could be a little longer, but it's one of our big ones that we wanted to hit. We've had this on the list for a while. We finally decided we were going to do it here for Volume 5. Rachel, we've come to that point in the show where I will ask you.
Yes, we have.
Does The Mummy have shelf life?
So, I think this movie... You always laugh at me.
God, I just like that you always like... I always just like that you like pause and you're like, here come the thoughts. Like,
well,
you're like ready.
I feel like that's... Anyways... So, I feel like this movie does, it's fun, it moves, it has the action, it has, like, you know, fun people, it has, like, it hits all the points, it even points out, like we said, it points out the points that it's all trying to hit. Mm-hmm. And it has the monster in it. Do I wish the Mummy was a little bit more mummy for a while? Yeah. I do, because I think that'd be a little bit more fun to have, like, a bit more horror aspect to it. I kind of wanted them to go over that PG-13 and give me more. And, of course, we even gave it that other criticism of we wanted them to kind of go out a little bit more, go to other places and give us a little extra and give us more dynamic with the characters. But I think it's fun. It's fun, it's quotable, it's just an interesting thing to watch. You can kind of watch it whenever. I would rewatch it. I did used to rewatch it, and I still would. So for me, it is on the shelf because of all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I am with you on this one. I own the 4K, which I've told you doesn't mean much, but I do own the 4K. It's fun. It's fun. It's a fun movie. I'm not going to argue with somebody if you're more on like the film snobbish side and say like, well, it's not a good movie. It's like, well, I can't really argue if it's good or not.
It's enjoyable,
but
though.
It's very entertaining. It's a lot of fun. I'm sure there's some nostalgia there, but it just moves. It's just like a sweet watch. Like, even like I watched it a few days ago, Rachel, and then I was like, oh, I probably should go back and just have it on in the background before we record. And just turned it back on again. And it's just like, oh, an hour already passed of just like having it on in the background. It's like, it just moves. It just works. You can just have it on.
Right.
The story is a lot of fun. The characters are a lot of fun. The acting is what it needs to be for each character.
Yes.
It all works together. As an adventure story and as a fun adventure story time Indiana Jones-esque serial, absolutely works.
Yes.
Absolutely is fun to revisit. A few things I would do differently, just like you said, but overall, I'm not going to complain about that. I do think that there's a couple of things that they could have improved, and maybe that would have made it better. Maybe it wouldn't have. I don't know. But to me, like, just a couple of things I would have maybe done better or done differently. But overall, yes. Damn it. It's on the shelf.
That's right.
I think that's all we can really
need to say.
It's on the shelf.
First one for season for season 5. Yes.
Yeah, I mean we have been thinking about when are we going to do The Mummy. It's been one of those that we've had on the list, and it was just like, I think we got to get a little more under our feet before we do The Mummy, because we don't really know how we're going to approach it, knowing that it's just like, we think it's fun. Is it going to hold up? And having to go do that. But yeah, absolutely. It has shelf life. It's on the shelf. So I'm glad that we did this one. It is a lot of fun. I would tell people your mileage on it may vary depending on how much fun you find in these like adventure stories or how much you're allowed. Sure. I'm sure there's other movies that are in the same vein that we're not going to like.
Oh, fair.
But to me, that's like us watching Congo in this and us being like, this does what Congo tried to do, and it does do it a lot better.
I think it does better in this one than Congo.
Yeah,
Congo
100%.
was like missing the mark a few times.
Yeah,
and that
head and
harder.
shoulders over it to me. Mm-hmm. And it just might be my preference or my taste and your taste, but Shelf Life's taste is the taste. I don't know where I was going with that.
Okay.
It's the truth.
It's the taste of the truth.
That's right. So yeah, I really do like this movie, and I can revisit it.
I think it actually could be a yearly watch. I don't think it has to be like, oh my god, you have to wait 10 years to rewatch it again, because it's just so much and it's so heavy, which we've seen before.
Interstellar.
Interstellar's the one that I was thinking. Yeah. But that's like, it's one of those where it's like, I think you can, if you just felt like a light, fun action movie, then you could just rewatch it. I don't think it has to be super long between.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think this is one where it shows up on cable. You're probably just letting it stay on.
Oh, it's on. That's staying on.
But if you've got it, and you should have it in your collection, then you can watch it whenever you want. I think it does come out every once in a while. It is just, it's a breezy, fun watch.
It's a fun
summer watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good summer watch. Or if you want to make it a monster movie in your fall and part of your Halloween watch, you could do that,
I think you could.
And it could fit.
Yeah.
So that has been The Mummy from 1999, directed by Stephen Sommers. Cross it off the list. It is on the shelf. Is it on your top shelf, Rachel?
That's a hard question. Is this one of your
favorites? Is this one of your favorite movies?
That's a hard question. I don't know if it's one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
It's one of my
I don't know if I'm going to put it up there either, but it's one of my fun movies. Yeah, you're right. It definitely is one of the fun movies. And we quote it all the time and shit.
That's right.
Yes. Okay. I have been Kevin.
And I am Rachel the librarian.
And this has been Shelf Life. I got nothing.
I never get to change mine. That was more fun.
It was great. Beautiful bastard. This has been Shelf Life. We'll see you next time. What are the other lines that we quote from this?
What does a woman know?
What does a woman know?
What's another one? I'm trying to think of them all now.
Wishing that you all had a very good time.
I loved the whole sand wall trick. It was beautiful. Bastard.